Douluo, my martial spirit is the phoenix. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Overcrowded. The blazing afternoon sun was dazzling, and in the blink of an eye, it was the hottest time of summer. Hongjun stood sadly at the entrance of the corridor, listening to the clear lectures in the classroom, and felt drowsy. That's right, he had the lesson that a truant child should have, standing in the corner. Despite the scorching sun, he dared not put down the two piles of books in his left and right hands. This was the teacher's punishment for him. He had skipped classes for 2 days, just after he started school, and Hongjun was completely blacklisted. Looking at the old professor blowing his nose and glaring, he consciously came to the corridor with the new books, and began his young development career. Alas, this little body has to bear everything alone after all. Hongjun sighed with emotion, and his two little hands also fell down. Stand up straight, hold the book straight. A hoarse roar came, and Hongjun was frightened, and hurriedly stood up straight. The old professor pushed his glasses, and walked out of the classroom at some point. It seems that skipping classes is a big mistake in his mind. The biggest mistake I made in my last life was not letting my daughter stand properly. After Hongjun finished speaking, he held up the book again, squatted his legs in a horse stance, then closed his eyes and silently cultivated his soul power. In his last life, he was a practical martial artist, and he had already mastered the basic skills such as squatting in a horse stance. In this life, all he wanted was to strengthen this body. Practicing on the blue planet without the so-called soul power and spiritual power, all he could hone was skills and experience, as well as a slightly stronger physique than others. In this life, his goal was very clear. In addition to practicing to become a god, he also wanted to explore the mysteries of this world, establish a martial arts sect in this Douluo continent, and create a brand new martial arts style. Time passed quickly, and classes were over. In the blink of an eye, an afternoon had passed. Hongjun also took a break during this period. After all, he would have to compete later, and his body must be kept in the best condition. Hongjun, what are you doing? Standing in the corner. At this time, Frieza was the first to come over. Seeing Hongjun holding the book in both hands, he walked forward in surprise. Hongjun opened his eyes and looked at him coldly. I'm strengthening my body. Oh. After a while, Sam and Zaoling and others also came over. Hey, Hongjun, what are you doing? This posture is really weird. Zaoling looked at him with a strange look and saw the slightly shining sweat stains on Hongjun's forehead and couldn't help asking strangely. Xian Yang walked over silently. His eyes swept over the gradually approaching crowd, and a group of young boys and girls cast strange looks at him. How long do you want to stand? Hurry up and leave. But Hongjun hesitated. The other classrooms were over, and the old professor in his classroom seemed to be still talking with relish. If I run away now, I can't continue to stand in the corner tomorrow, right? This. Xian Yang was stunned. He had never been punished by a teacher before, so he really didn't know what this situation was. Hurry up and go, or you'll be late. Don't let those guys say you've given up. Little Sam urged from the side. Seeing that the sky in the distance was half blood red, the time was running out. Okay, students, our class ends here today. Get out of class dismissed. Hongjun ran in. I'm leaving first, teacher. He breathed again after a moment. Hurry up and go, or you'll be late. Next, it will be the battlefield of their dormitory 315, 6v6. Whoever is cowardly is a grandson. By the way, have the notices been in place? Hongjun asked as he ran. Well, when everyone heard that it was a challenge between the lower grades and the upper grades or a group battle, they all said they wanted to come and watch. Little Arthur answered excitedly from the side. Sam also said, it's the same here. When we heard that the seniors actually came to the dormitory to bully the juniors, everyone was indignant and said that they would come to the arena to support us after class. Then, the four people looked at Frieza and Zaoling, wondering, you two were not beaten? What do you mean? Do you really want us to be beaten? Frieza was stunned, and Xiaoling was furious. How is it possible? Hongjun waved his hands hurriedly. I dare to let you go, because I believe in your wisdom. If Sam and little Arthur went, they would definitely not be able to escape a beating. Sam and little Arthur. What about you? Have you notified the teachers of the college? Xian Yang interrupted and asked. No problem, Teacher Shia promised me that the rest will be left to him. That's good. Several people looked happy. With Teacher Shia's words, we are not afraid of retaliation. With the support of the vice president, we are not afraid of the Ding family. Sam spit out a mouthful of thick phlegm. Seeing the excited expressions of several people, Hongjun prayed silently in his heart. Teacher Shia, you must be more reliable this time. Little Arthur on the side interrupted. Give us his seat. What if we can't beat them? Xiaoling. Sam. Hongjun. Frieza silently ran to the side and kicked little Arthur on the butt. He jogged all the way, crossed the playground, and walked through the martial arts arena. Unlike in the past, there were a lot of people today. Young and beautiful senior sisters, petite and lovely junior sisters, serious female teachers. Oh my god, there are so many people, little Arthur exclaimed as soon as he crossed the martial arts arena. Rather than saying it was a personal grudge between the two dormitories, it was better to say it was a competition between the two colleges. The dense crowd actually filled up the area of nearly square meters in front. Among the three arenas, only the large one in the middle was empty. Tables and chairs were placed on the other two arenas without knowing when. And the one sitting in the first place, drinking tea leisurely, isn't that Dean Doyle? As for the black-clothed woman who moved her stool with a look of disdain, she was Hongjun's teacher, Shia. Dean Doyle, two vice deans, the dean of teaching, the guest official, the old scholar. Frieza's eyes widened. There were 20 to 30 people on the two stages, and in addition to some of the leaders of the academy, there were actually many people he didn't know. But judging from the position, their strength and status must be strong. Everyone turned their eyes to Hongjun and said slowly, isn't this scene a bit too big? As for the middle-aged strong man sitting on the stage, Frieza still knew him. Isn't that the current head of the Ding family? Dingling's father, Ding Yichen. The five of you go up first. I have something to do temporarily. I'll be here soon after I go back. Hongjun gave a warning, silently retreated to the martial arts performance, and quickly disappeared among the trees. What are you doing, Hongjun? The game is about to start. Xiaoling wanted to grab him, but before he could catch him, Ma Xiaopang slipped away. As the voice was heard, the surrounding eyes were gradually attracted. Here you are. Aren't we going to have a team fight? You are so hesitant. Are you afraid? A ridiculous laugh rang out. Dingning and others were already waiting under the ring. Xia took the lead in launching a mocking attack. Chapter 27. The protagonist always appears at the end. They are the ones who want to challenge senior Dingling. No way. These guys should have just been enrolled for a short time. Where do they get the courage? Just a few of them. At the same time, a group of students who were just watching the show also noticed the 5 people in the crowd and immediately started to mock them mercilessly. They are all ugly and malnourished. How dare they come to the ring? Just them? These kids want to challenge Dingling? Isn't this bullying? A long-bearded man behind Ding Yichen frowned, feeling a little bit reluctant. I hope Dingling doesn't hit too hard, otherwise it will be hard to explain to the school. Ding Yichen looked calm, glanced at the students watching around him, and then moved his eyes to another ring. Shia seemed to feel the gaze, raised her head, and looked at Ding Yichen, not giving in at all. Ahem. After 4 found out, he hurriedly tried to smooth things over. Shia, aren't you your apprentice going to play too? Which one is it? 4 pointed at Xian Yang and the other 5 looked around curiously and finally couldn't help frowning and said, I see these kids all entered the school last year and this year, and none of them are so talented that we Shia look at them differently. As the vice president of the academy, 4 is the most responsible one. He is busy every day and rarely pays attention to the information of individual students. Yes, Shia, who is that Hongjun? Let this dean take a good look. We, Vice President Shia, have to personally go out to find a martial spirit for him. Dogra on the side had a sad expression. He still felt a little regretful for not taking in a student with full innate spirit power. With Shia's lazy character, she can't even take care of herself, and she still teaches students? Isn't this purely misleading students? Moreover, she just got her first spirit ring and she couldn't wait to challenge the senior students. It's fine if Shia doesn't care, but she even joins her in making trouble, and invites so many people. It's true that, if there is a master, there will be a disciple. If something goes wrong, it will be impossible to end it, and I will have to step in. No, I have to think about what benefits I should ask Shia for later. I can't let this woman get away with it this time. Douglas silently calculated in his heart, looking up and laughing obscenely. The students in the audience also noticed the strange Dean Doyle at this time. Look at Dean Doyle, what's wrong with him? He seems to be laughing. Hey, so obscene. Lina's good friend Sandy felt a chill, and couldn't help muttering, is the Dean suffering from Alzheimer's disease? For quietly bumped Douglas's shoulder, and then silently moved the chair back with Shia. This poor Alzheimer's patient is really getting worse. That little girl doesn't seem to be in the group. Did something happen? It was almost nightfall, and Aldino had nothing to do, so he followed Shia and others to this place. He was one of the few teachers who knew Hongjun. For the rare genius with full innate soul power and mutated martial soul, Aldino still had great expectations. After all, the little girl was one of the few disciples of my aunt, and was considered to be in the same camp as him. Aldino still hoped that she would not let my aunt's mother down. Could it be that she dared not come? After all, she has only been in school for a few days. Even if she has full innate soul power, she can't beat Dingning, who is at level 21, right? A charming red-haired female teacher interrupted. Huh. Shia glanced at him indifferently. Oh. The red-haired female teacher felt an inexplicable chill coming over her. She turned her head and saw Shia's cold eyes and immediately shut her mouth. Aldino frowned and said, it shouldn't be that bad. Although I have only seen this little guy once, I think he is not a coward. It seems that he doesn't dare. Dingwei on the side sneered and joined the mocking team. That's right, a bunch of poor guys. I'm afraid they can't even get enough training resources. What can they use to fight us? It's just a show of force. Frieza was the first one who couldn't help it. He pointed at Dingwei and others and roared, bullshit, do we dare to be afraid of you? A weak egg who can only bully freshmen and steal chickens and dogs dares to talk nonsense there. You. Dingwei stomped his feet in anger. If I hadn't stopped him, he would have rushed forward directly. Ding Yichin on the side also frowned. This little guy has personality. He just scolded in front of Ding Yichin. Four said in amazement, Dingwei's grandfather? Isn't that Ding Yichin's father? How Four's words made all the teachers laugh. What kind of clear logic is this? Dingling silently stepped onto the ring, and Toda and others followed suit. Aren't you going to fight in a group? Dingling said expressionlessly, if you want to fight, come up quickly. Finish it as soon as possible. I have another game. After that, he glanced at Gudu and others at the edge of the crowd, his eyes boiling with fighting spirit. Red-haired Alpha laughed and said, boss, this guy seems to be looking at you. Gudu sneered and said, are all the people here? Let's have some fun with these scum later. Everyone is here, just waiting for you to give the order. Gudu glanced at Gullah and Alpha behind him, and smiled with satisfaction. Let's fight around Dingling later. Get rid of him first, and then slowly abuse the rest. At the same time, Xianyang and Zaoling, with angry faces, jumped onto the ring as a group of spectators gave way automatically. So there are only 5 of you? Seeing that only 5 people came up, Dingwei said unhappily, where is that little fat guy? Is he too scared to come? He has something. My dear grandson, your grandpa is here. Before Xianyang could explain, a childish voice sounded in the distance, and a short and fat figure quickly rushed over from the treetops, tapped his toes, quickly jumped into the air, and landed beautifully on the ring with a chic and countless degree flips. My dear grandson, why are you calling your grandpa? I'm here. If you have anything to ask me, just say it. Hongjun stood up diagonally facing Dingning and others, smiled and shook his head, his fiery red short hair fluttering in the wind, posing a charming posture. You are looking for death, you little brat. Dingwen's eyes were bloodshot, and the barbarian bull martial spirit instantly emerged from his body, ready to attack. Dingling stretched out his hand to stop his exposed brother and sneered, "You sharp-tongued guy, are you Hongjun?" "Yes, I will never change my name, Hongjun." Hongjun turned around and blew kisses to the cute seniors and juniors in the audience with his hands held up. Oh. Xiaoling was stunned. Could this be what the kid is talking about? Frieza, Sam and others kept silent, watching the gradually overflowing eyes of the audience, and silently clenched their fists. Let's go back and deal with this guy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Absolute Defense. Hey, isn't this the fat guy we met the day before yesterday? Verna's pale blue eyes lit up, as if she saw something interesting. Do you know her, Verna? Asked the little girl next to her. Verna laughed and glanced at Lina next to her. Aren't you looking for the bad guy who scared Lina last time? Verna showed a strange expression and pointed at Marziah Pang on the stage. Look, it's this fat guy. Go up and beat him up. So it's this brat. The eyes of the flower protectors who gathered around gradually dimmed. How dare you bully our lovely Princess Lina? You are simply courting death. No. Lina, who was standing by, also heard Verna's teasing. She looked at him with a pair of bright eyes, puffed up her cheeks and said angrily, "I didn't cry." Don't listen to what Sister Nana said. I'm a grown-up girl, I won't cry. The little girl next to her interrupted at an inappropriate time, but I heard from my roommates that day that you cried miserably, Lina. No. Lina stamped her feet in anger and reached out to cover her friend's stinky mouth. No, 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 I won't cry. Don't listen to what Yaya said. Oh. Werner's delicate voice made a strange sound, and then she turned her eyes to the ring again. This little fat guy and I are destined to be enemies. Goku stared at the seniors and juniors in the audience with a solemn expression, clenching his fists again and again. Why didn't he think of working hard on his appearance? What if he fought well on the stage? When Hongjun said this, who in the audience didn't know him? Even if he lost the game today, I'm afraid all the girls in the school would know this cute little fat boy. Then he would pretend to be pitiful to gain sympathy. Wouldn't that be? Goku felt worse and worse, and turned to the 5 brothers behind him and said, "Brothers, do you think I can also use this way to appear later?" Gullah was confused. Red-haired Alpha remained silent. The boss seemed to be sick again. "Smelly boy, are you going to fight or not?" Turda on the stage always had a good temper, but he couldn't stand it anymore. Was this little fat boy here to show off? Fight. Why don't you fight? Hongjun smiled and turned his head. His sharp eyes swept over Dingling and others and said coldly, "Not only do we have to fight, today I will let you know the consequences of bullying classmates." "Oh," Zia said disdainfully, "just you few trash? You are the trash. Your whole family is trash." Frieza angrily gave Zia a middle finger. This is what Hongjun taught him last night. Although he didn't know what it meant, he felt that it was very hateful at first glance, so he learned it happily. Whether you are trash or not, we will know after the competition. Xian Yang stopped the excited Frieza and took 2 steps forward to stand side by side with Hongjun. Well, Dingling turned his head and bowed to the ring on Dean Doyle's side with his hands clasped together. "Dear deans and teachers, since everyone has arrived, can we start the competition?" Doyle didn't say anything, but glanced at the guard Loke under the stage. Loke immediately understood, jumped onto the ring with a force, and stood in the middle of the 2 teams. Since this competition is an internal competition in Francis College, and is conducted in a team mode, I declare that cold weapons other than martial spirits are not allowed to be used in this competition. Stop when you are satisfied. If any student is found to maliciously beat up the opponent student, he will be expelled. Obviously, Loke favors Hongjun's side, fearing that they will be beaten too hard. Okay, the competition begins. Loke jumped off the ring in 1 step, leaving the field to the 12 people on the field. "Show your martial spirits." A voice sounded. Dingling and Dingwei stood at the front at the same time. Turda and Zia stood on both sides, and Merkang stood in front of Weia. The 2 of them were in the last position. Not bad. A victorious soldier is not arrogant. Ding Ding and his group of boys have a future. Even when facing an opponent who is several times weaker than themselves, they also put on the correct fighting posture. A thin man leaned forward slightly and told Ding Yichin and others his opinion. Well, it's really good. Ding Yichin smiled and nodded. At the same time, Ding Ding and others also showed their martial spirits and spirit rings. Except for Ding Ding, who had 2 yellow spirit rings, the remaining 5 people only had 1 spirit ring. Among them, only Zia and Merkin had yellow spirit rings of the century level, and the remaining 3 had white spirit rings. Little fatty, it's your turn. Hurry up. Zia made another mocking attack. Brothers, show your moves. Hongjun gave an order, tapped his toes lightly, and retreated directly to the back. Frieza jumped to the front, and behind him were little Arthur and Sam, standing on the left and right. Xiaoling and Xianyang stood on the left and right. Frieza's martial soul was actually a rhinoceros, with thick skin and flesh. It was a powerful defensive martial soul with a white spirit ring. Xianyang and Xiaoling had 2 yellow spirit rings. Xianyang's martial soul was a stick, and Xiaoling's martial soul was an eagle. It turned out to be a flying martial soul. When Xiaoling showed his martial soul, even Ding Yichin, who was standing beside him, was shocked. You know, flying martial souls are rare, and eagles are also very aggressive martial souls. Xiaoling, this kid, has a pretty good martial soul, but unfortunately his soul power is too low. The teacher at the side. His apprentice has a strong martial soul, but his soul power training is always slow. After 1 year in the academy, he is only at level 12. This is what you call a natural full soul power, and a genius with a mutant martial soul? Vice Dean 4 was stunned, and said in disbelief, isn't this just a poultry? Shah said coldly, sit there and watch carefully, don't make a fuss. Dalgara didn't say anything, but just stared at every move on the field quietly. When he found that Hongjun's martial soul was actually a chicken, he was shocked at first, and then gradually became silent. This eat is probably far more than just a poultry. Chicken? Zia on the opposite side laughed out loud when he saw this. I thought it was a powerful team, but it turns out that neither of them has reached level 10, and they don't even have spirit rings, and the other spirit is a chicken. Can a chicken be used to fight? As Zia's words spread, the students in the audience sighed. Although they also hated Zia and other school bullies who bullied the weak, they were strong, and were no match for them. The huge gap in strength before them made everyone feel distressed. This was not a battle of the same level at all. It's a bit interesting. Werner's mouth cracked, revealing an imperceptible smile. This gap is too big. Can that hateful little fat hooligan win? Lena on the side couldn't help but worry. Although she was not familiar with the people on the stage, her mother taught her to be kind since she was a child. Boss, this little fat guy's spirit is comparable to yours. Red Hair's eyes lit up, staring at the fat rooster on the stage. He couldn't help but think of his boss's spirit. Get lost. How can this guy compare with me? I'm a mutant wolf. What kind of mutant wolf is this? It's just a domestic dog. Red Hair muttered. I'm going to kill you today. Godu was so angry that he was shaking all over. This traitor. Go. Zia and Merkang took the lead in launching the attack. Their martial spirits were a blood rat and a civet cat respectively. Although the combination of cat and mouse seemed strange, their speed was extremely amazing. The 2 of them attacked from the left and right. First soul skill, tail whip. First soul skill, cat claw. Come on, today I'll let you know what a nemesis is. Xiaoling's martial spirit was an eagle, which had a suppressing effect. First soul skill, spread the wings of the Goshawk. A Goshawk condensed out, and the wings condensed by soul power were shining with golden light, waving towards Merkang's civet cat. Xianyang was not to be outdone, waving the iron rod condensed by his martial soul to attack the blood rat, and he did not use any soul skills. Hey, it's my turn next. Ding Wei sneered and condensed a huge bull. First soul skill, Iron Bull Charge. Here it comes. Frieza's eyes condensed. First soul skill, Absolute Defense. His martial soul is a rhinoceros, which focuses on defense, and Frieza's first soul skill is related to defense. It condenses a rhinoceros skin-like defense shield within a 2-meter range around him to resist attacks from the front, back, left, and right. This skill is a terrible defensive skill, but Frieza's own soul power is low, and he can't withstand the joint attack of Ding Ling and Ding Wei, so Sam and little Arthur hid behind him, and infused him with soul power. Bang! A huge collision came, and Ding Wei was bounced back 2 or 3 meters. What a strong defense. The Soul Masters on the 2 arena stood up in surprise, staring at the shield condensed by Frieza. Someone actually urged me to update more, so I made up for what I owed. Today is the 3rd update. It's not easy to write a new book, so please support me. If you like it, your opinions are welcome. Chapter 29. When joint techniques are combined with acupuncture. The fiery red setting sun shone down obliquely, dyeing the arena the same blood red as the dusk in the sky. This defense is a bit too amazing. The crowd in the audience also looked sideways. They never thought that a white soul ring could give Frieza such a powerful skill. Well arranged. Fall commented, this kid has high defense, but insufficient soul power. It happens that the other 2 provide him with soul power, which temporarily makes up for his shortcomings in soul power. Dean Dalgara stared for a while and shook his head and said, the defense is indeed very high, but the shortcomings are too obvious. Look at the expression of that kid. This soul skill is probably not only limited to his position, but also very soul power consumption. A soul master can only stand still, so he can only stand and get beaten. After Doyle stopped talking, everyone realized the shortcomings of this soul skill. No matter how Ding Wei attacked, Frieza stood firmly in place without moving. Ding Ling and Ding Wei both have the bull spirit, but even with his level 21 spirit power attack, he still couldn't break through Frieza's absolute defense. However, judging from Frieza's gnashing teeth and sweating face, he probably can't hold on for much longer. Shia was a little disappointed, and subconsciously turned her eyes to Ma Hongjun at the end, wanting to see what her apprentice was going to do next. Hey, where's the brat? Shia looked around, and there was no one at the place where Ma Hongjun had stood not long ago. Could it be? Looking at Frieza, little Sam and the others who were almost fighting side by side, Shia was thoughtful. No, watch out. At this moment, the white beard behind Ding Yichin suddenly roared, but followed by a scream. Ah! And a figure suddenly flew from behind, and fell to the ground with a bang. What? The people who were still fighting froze. Ding Ling suddenly jumped up, and looked behind Frieza, and then he found that there was still Ma Hongjun's shadow. You've been tricked. Adjust your position and defend. He was careless. It turned out that the reason why Frieza and the others stood together was not to show their strong defense, but to attract attention and create conditions for Ma Hongjun to launch a sneak attack. When Ding Wei rushed over, Ma Hongjun merged with the martial god body, stepped on the phantom step, and with the help of the shaking of his figure, he quickly moved to the back of Ding Ling and the others, and launched a sneak attack. Via was an auxiliary spirit master, and Merkin only had the control of a plant skill, so he could not face Ma Hongjun who was living in the place. As a martial artist who once excelled in fighting skills, as soon as he got close, he used his right hand to form a finger and instantly tapped on the acupuncture point of Merkin's neck. Then he twisted his right hand and wrapped Merkin's neck. His left hand pushed sideways at his chest and directly knocked him out. Poor Merkin was knocked out with a bang before he even had time to use his spirit skills. After all, he had too little experience. After being approached instantly, he panicked instinctively. Instead of making a defensive move, he wanted to retreat, which also created a great opportunity for Ma Hongjun. Good job, Hongjun. Frieza shouted. The plan was successful. He successfully injured one and eliminated one. After knocking Merkin away, Ma Hongjun did not stop at all, and concentrated his firepower completely on Via, the only auxiliary spirit master. Poor Via was hit directly in the abdomen by a knee, and he bent over in pain. Then he took Ma Hongjun's elbow with his chin, and acid water and saliva sprayed out immediately. Then Ma Xiaopang interacted left and right, grabbed Via's neck, and bent his body slightly. Take-I style, left and right reverse roll. With a twist at the waist, Via, who was a head taller than him, was thrown high. A set of operations was smooth and flowing. In less than 2 breaths, Via left the ring. Lina, be careful. Vina dodged and grabbed Lina's collar in an instant, pulling her back. Bang! Another sound of close contact with the ground was heard, and poor Via fainted directly. Lina looked at the flying man who suddenly appeared, spitting out turbid liquid from her mouth. Her expression was stunned at first, and then tears quickly rolled in her eyes. Woo. Woo. Wow. So scary. Lina sat on the ground in embarrassment, and finally couldn't help crying. Senior Lina, what's wrong with you? Did you fall somewhere? It has to be said that the cute Lali, delicate and weak like a flower, the younger students saw this, and their anger rose in their hearts. What are you doing? Don't you know to be careful when you hear it? What if this hurts our senior sister? A group of adolescent boys were furious. Oh my. Hongjun's face twitched, and he saw the crying Lina at a glance. Why is it her again? A good man does not fight with a woman. Seeing the men who were eager to rush up to beat him, Hongjun hurriedly apologized. Sorry, I will pay attention next time. First soul skill, Horn of Rage. Dingling's voice suddenly sounded behind him. Hongjun's expression froze instantly, and his whole body fell down. He stepped back with all his strength, and dodged the two bullhorns flying from the left and right. The sharp bullhorns collided with each other, and burst with a crack. Good opportunity. First soul skill, Bull Charge. Seeing Hongjun fall to the ground with his back to him, Dingwei sneered and launched another attack and rushed forward. Still want a sneak attack? A silver iron stick suddenly stretched out from the side, and the tip of the stick touched Dingwei's waist and abdomen. The pain made his soul power stagnate, and he knelt on the ground, holding his waist. It turned out that Frieza, Arthur and Sam had surrounded him at some point, and stopped Zia who was fighting with Xian Yang. The situation on the field changed instantly. Via was thrown off the stage, and Merkin had not recovered for a while. The auxiliary and control spirit masters were almost knocked down at the same time, and it became 4-6. It's fair now. Hongjun smiled and stared at Dingling, who also had the barbarian bull spirit, and said, let me play with you next. Okay. Dingling sneered, and his spirit power fluctuated violently. Then I want to see how you play with me. He is a 21st level great spirit master with 200-year spirit rings, the strongest existence on the field. Interesting. It seems that this little fat guy is not as honest as he looks. Dudu sneered. Although Dingling had arranged the Linoop at the beginning, he was still careless in the end, and his back row support was stolen by someone. At this time, Zia also got rid of Frieza's pure defense entanglement, and fought with Xian Yang again. Until now, Xian Yang has not used the spirit ring skills granted by the 100-year spirit ring. On the other side, although Zaoling was an eagle martial spirit, he was slightly at a disadvantage. He was no match for Turda, and was beaten into a state of disgrace for a while. First soul skill, Thorns. At this moment, Merkin barely recovered. He glanced at the situation on the field and decisively launched his soul skill. The target was Zaoling. In an instant, Zaoling's feet were covered with a pile of thorns, and the thorns of these thorns were 5 centimeters long. Seeing this, Turda launched his first soul skill again, Cat's Claw. Zaoling accidentally stepped into the thorns, staggered in pain, and was hit by Turda's soul skill. He fell directly to the edge of the ring and completely fainted. Not good. Xian Yang, Frieza and others wanted to go up to help, but were stopped by Dingwei and others. The field once again became a 5-on-6 situation. Ding Yichen, who had originally looked tense, relaxed again. Dean Douglas's expression was tense again, and Shia remained silent. Second soul skill, Wild Bull Possession. Dingling used his second soul skill, which turned out to be a soul skill that enhanced his combat power. His body seemed to be wrapped by wild bulls, and he turned into a human-shaped wild bull, and rushed towards Hongjun. Chapter 30 Stunning the audience. No, get out of the way. Ardino exclaimed. Although he had learned from his aunt that Mars Iapang had successfully obtained the 100-year soul ring, the soul power gap was still inevitable. Not only Ardino, but even the other spectators were nervous. Almost no one believed that Hongjun's first soul skill could block the attack of Dingling's second soul skill. If it were Frieza's purely defensive martial spirit, he might be able to barely block it. Xian Yang waved the silver stick in his hand, but as soon as the stick popped out, it was blocked by Turda who came to support. Let's just play around. Support is so boring. Turda sneered and rushed forward with his bare hands. First soul skill, Thorns. Merkin used the first soul skill again, trapping Frieza and others. At this time, Ding Wei had used the first soul skill 4 times in a row, and his soul power was almost exhausted. There was not much strength left. All he had was that bit of anger that he refused to admit defeat, which supported him to hug Ma Hongjun's thighs with both hands. Little fatty, prepare to die. Ding Wei's face was grim, and he used all his strength to wrap his arms around Ma Hongjun's thighs to prevent him from dodging with that weird speed again. HMPH. I don't have time to waste with you now. First soul skill, Evil Phoenix Assault. Facing Ding Ding, who was rushing towards him with his soul skill, Ma Hongjun used his first soul skill, and a phoenix made of flames flew out from his hands, and the hot air was filled. What a powerful force. The 3 guests behind Ding Yichen stood up suddenly. If this move hits, Ding Ling may not have the strength to fight again. Several teachers also had solemn expressions. Even in another arena, they could vaguely feel the burning power in the flames. Brother, it's your turn. Ma Hongjun used his first soul skill, and while Ding Ling was hurriedly dodging, his 2 fat hands moved down at the same time without stopping. Ah! Ding Wei's 2 thumbs were broken at the same time, and tears flowed in pain. Your disciple is a bit cruel. Forel, who was standing by, watched the scene on the field with lingering fear. When the little fat boy broke someone's thumb, he actually had a smile on his face. He was also called a child? Well done. Shia nodded lightly. No wonder they can become master and disciple, a nest of thieves. Forel complained in his heart. Could it be that you taught him this? Bang. Everything happened in just a moment. After Ma Hongjun threw out his soul skill, he immediately broke Ding Wei's thumb, and then he kicked him in the abdomen with his right leg, kicking him off the ring. You are looking for death. Ding Ling rolled over in embarrassment, and when he got up, he found that Ding Wei had been kicked off the ring. Although this man is a waste, he is indeed his elder brother, and a relative. Ding Ling was furious. The wild bull with soul power gathered in his body stared again, and it seemed to swell up 3 points. He half crouched and rushed towards Ma Hongjun, just like a wild bull with red eyes. Be careful of Ding Ling behind. The people on Ding Yichen's side could not sit still. Seeing that Ding Ling did not notice the abnormality behind him, they hurriedly reminded him. Behind. Ding Ling turned around suddenly, and then he realized that the evil phoenix attack that Ma Hongjun had launched not long ago was attacking him again. This fire attack can actually turn. Is this soul skill lock? Doyle was no longer calm, and his eyes widened in surprise. That's right. My apprentice's first soul skill is not only powerful, but also has a locking effect. Once it is used, it will either hit the target, or consume all the soul power, otherwise it will not stop. Shai raised her chin proudly, as if to say, how about this? This is the apprentice I taught. Isn't she 100 times more powerful than you? Dalgara and Four turned their heads silently, and no one continued to speak. This time Ding Ling can't dodge. Gudu also watched every move on the field in surprise. When Ding Ling chose to continue to rush forward, he could no longer dodge. It was not just because of carelessness, but more because of the gap in experience. The battle seemed to be perfectly controlled by Ma Hongjun and others. From the absolute defensive freezer at the beginning, everything seemed to be arranged. Can't dodge. The moment Ding Ling turned around, his first reaction was to dodge, but his mind told him that he couldn't dodge, so he could only choose to resist. With the second soul skill, the bull, possessed, Ding Ling gritted his teeth. In his opinion, even if it was an attack type soul skill, what was it? The soul power gap was nearly 10 levels, and he would definitely be able to block it. Bang! A big explosion sounded, and the evil phoenix assault collided with Ding Ling's arms, making a terrifying explosion sound, which covered everyone's vision for a while. When the firelight dissipated, looking at Ding Ling on the field, he was now covering his head with a messy face. His sleeves had been completely broken, and his entire arm was red. Although he was seriously injured, he still managed to block it. Don't let your guard down. However, before he could catch his breath, a subtle laugh suddenly sounded in his ears. Oh my god, this little fat guy has no martial ethics, and is trying to sneak attack again. A male student in the audience roared. After dealing with Ding Wei, Ma Hongjun quietly moved forward, his knee directly against Ding Ling's waist, and kicked out fiercely. Fortunately, the blessing of the second soul skill had not yet dissipated. After being kicked in the lower back by Ma Hongjun, He ran forward 5 or 6 steps, but was not knocked down directly. Stinky boy, you have some ability. With the help of Mr. Kang, Zia on the side briefly withdrew from Freezer and others, waving his claws and rushing from the flank. Seeing this, Hongjun turned several somersaults in a row and retreated to the side. Martial arts, phantom step. Hongjun took advantage of this gap and moved his position in an instant. However, his first reaction was not to dodge, but to attack Ding Ding again. Martial arts, close contact. Hongjun leaned his body and elbowed, and his whole body used the huge inertia to hit him from behind again. Poor Ding Ding just came to his senses and turned around and wanted to block it with his hands, but Hongjun stepped slightly downward and hit him directly in the abdomen with his elbow. Hongjun even poured soul power into this attack. His elbow hit Ding Ding so hard that his body bent, his stomach churned, and saliva and acid sprayed out of his mouth. Poor Ding Ding didn't have time to show the power of his second soul skill, and he was hit high and rolled off the ring. No one in the audience on the 2 rings said anything, and even the students in the audience were watching silently. How could a soul master beat a great soul master so easily? It was obviously a killing match, but the short and fat figure on the stage actually beat him to an advantage. How did he do it? Not only did the crowd of people in the audience feel puzzled, but the teachers on the ring and the strong outsiders were also shocked. I'm afraid his control of soul power is better than most people present. Douluo whispered. At this moment, he regretted it very much. If he had insisted on staying there, wouldn't this apprentice be mine? Ding Yichin stood up and said to the people behind him, this game is over. Go and carry the eldest and second young masters back. They are 2 shameful things. After saying that, he turned around and left without looking back. After Ding Ding was knocked off the ring, Turda also stopped decisively. Admit defeat. We lost this game. Chapter 31 New College Regulations. What are you doing, Turda? Zia shouted angrily. You coward, we haven't lost yet. Before he finished speaking, Zia used his remaining soul power to display his first soul skill again and rushed towards Hongjun. He was not convinced. Why were we beaten so badly by a freshman who had just entered the school? Come again. Hongjun was speechless. Your teammates have all admitted defeat. Why are you still trying to be strong? 1-on-1? Or 1-on-2, 3, 4? If you have that strength, why are you still standing here? Hongjun squatted down, ready to give Zia, who didn't know what was good for him, a hard blow. First soul skill, my stick, thick and long. However, before he could make any move, Xian Yang on the side moved first. Obviously, he was the second strongest man on his side, but he hadn't even defeated one person. Xian Yang was also angry. Seeing Zia rushing towards Hongjun, he finally used his first soul skill. The seemingly ordinary silver stick suddenly became thick and long, a full 5 meters long, and half a pound was nearly 10 centimeters. And this huge silver stick was held high in Xian Yang's hand, and he smashed it down directly, like a beam falling straight down. No, get out of the way. Seeing this, Turda wanted to step forward to stop it, but he was still a step too slow, and the stick hit Zia's waist and abdomen directly. Even though Zia had already made a defense, the power of the stick was far beyond Zia's imagination, and Zia was directly hit 10 meters away and fell off the ring. Puff. The power of the stick was too great, and Zia spurted out a mouthful of blood. As soon as he raised his head, he fell to the ground again, completely fainted. Oh. Freezer and the other 2 swallowed their saliva. They never expected that Xian Yang, who had always been taciturn, actually had such a powerful martial soul and soul skills. Hongjun, who was standing by, looked at the silver stick that had been restored to its original shape and muttered, my stick is so thick and long. Scum, scum. The students with children in the audience were dazzled and covered their faces with their hands in shame. Their 2 tender little palms were wide open, watching the actions on the stage. This foul's mouth twitched, and he turned around silently and looked at a middle-aged teacher with long hair wearing a long black cloak. Did he create this thing himself, or did you teach him? The middle-aged teacher was Xian Yang's teacher, and was also the teacher in charge of his group of students. That should be none of them. The middle-aged teacher touched his head awkwardly and said, his martial soul is quite special. It is a weapon martial soul, and when the martial soul changes, it seems that he must recite a spell. Otherwise it cannot be used. A group of people understood. No wonder Xianyang did not use his soul skills until the fight was over. He probably felt that the spell was too embarrassing. My stick is thick and long. Doyle's mouth twitched. It would be better to find a girl to recite this formula in private. Maybe there will be unexpected gains. The battle was completely over. Turda did not say much, but silently helped Merkang jump off the ring. Losing is losing. He was the only one left with full combat power. It was definitely impossible to fight. In order to avoid being beaten less, Turda was very decisive. Is it one? Many of the students who were watching the show in the audience had not even recovered from the battle. As long as they had studied in the academy for a period of time, who would not know Ding Wei and others? But few people could deal with them. I didn't expect that the junior students would be dealt with today. It's a great pleasure. Although the competition was over, the dean and the classroom teachers did not leave immediately. Ahem. Doyle coughed twice and slowly stood up from his seat. Students, please be quiet. After a moment, the students present turned their eyes to him. I believe everyone has more or less understood the reason for this competition. Doyle began to talk leisurely. As a qualified dean, his official tone was well practiced. It is a good practice for seniors to guide and help juniors, but recently some bad things have happened in our Francis College. Seniors have gone to the dormitories of juniors to teach them how to practice as the dean of the college. There are some things he cannot say directly. After all, there are many gentry from outside the college. If their reputation gets bad, it will be difficult for them to recruit new students in the future. This kind of thing is absolutely not allowed in the college. Even if the seniors mean well, they can help the juniors practice openly. Why does our Francis College have one more arena area than other colleges? Dalgala's tone gradually became serious. I'm not here to visit for cultivation, and I'm not here to take the final exam. Young people are full of energy and vigor. Since you have chosen to become a soul master, you should speak with strength. The outside world is very chaotic and 100 times more dangerous than you think, but the academy is a safe haven for you during your growth period. Here, you can challenge any opponent you want without restraint. As long as it does not violate the academy regulations, you can fight as you like. Douglas said, paused for a moment, and then shouted in a voice that was almost roaring, but you must roll to the ring and fight. If something goes wrong, I will take responsibility for you, and the teachers in the academy will support you. After saying that, his eyes were cold and focused, staring at Ding Yichen and others who had already walked out of the crowd. Ding Yichen and Douglas looked at each other, and after a moment, he turned around and left. Let's go. After a few breaths, a student finally came to his senses first. The dean is right. If you want to fight, come to the ring. Whoever is afraid is a grandson. Yes, that's right. Kara, I want to challenge you. Come on. Who's afraid of who? In an instant, the students were full of fighting spirit, and even the girls were eager to try. Since you have become a soul master, you are destined to no longer live an ordinary life like ordinary people. How can you get soul rings without killing soul beasts? How can you improve your strength? Since you have embarked on this path, don't be timid, just do it boldly. Everything has its own rules. As the saying goes, survival of the fittest. The profession of soul master has existed in this continent for tens of thousands of years, and naturally has its own set of survival rules. The strong enjoy all privileges. Looking at the noisy crowd around him, Doyle raised his chin proudly. This favor is too big. Think about how to pay it back to me. After saying that, he jumped up and disappeared in the ring area. Four looked at him in a rather strange way. No way. Shah, you actually went to beg old Doyle for a novice apprentice? Did I beg him? Shah said calmly. I just told him that there is a malpractice in the academy and it needs to be dealt with. He is the dean. Isn't it his responsibility to deal with these things? After Shah finished speaking, she also kicked her feet and disappeared on the spot. Oh. Thor was stunned for a moment, then muttered to himself, it seems that old Doyle will make trouble again. Chapter 32 Post-War Summary. Seeing the teachers leave one by one, some students even jumped onto the stage. I'm Aang Zidon. Soul Power Level 18. Martial Soul, Azure Bird. I'm here to challenge you. Are there any brave students who can come up and compete with me? 10 seconds later, a figure appeared on the stage. It was actually a girl. Hello, Senior Rao Yang. I'm here to learn from your skills. At this time, Xian Yang had already stepped forward to help Xiaoling, who had just woken up. When he looked up, he found that his 4 teammates were looking at him with strange expressions. Why are you 4 guys looking at me? Xian Yang frowned. The fight is over, and the revenge has been taken. Do you still want to stay here to watch the game? Frieza chuckled. My stick is thick and long. Sam and Arthur on the side also covered their mouths with ill intentions and laughed secretly. I didn't expect that our brother Yang has this special hobby. What are you two talking about? Everyone has their own special hobbies. Xian Yang is our roommate. If you dare to laugh at him again, I will beat you up. Frieza shouted viciously, but with that obscene smile on his face, anyone could see his ridicule. Ouch, my butt. Xiaoling lost his balance and fell to the ground again, feeling that his butt was broken into 2. I'm the injured. Can you consider me first? The angry Xian Yang loosened his hand and abandoned Xiaoling directly. He summoned his silver stick and decided to teach the 3 guys who laughed at him a lesson. You 3 guys are laughing happily. Xian Yang pressed on step by step. He had to recite a spell to use his first soul skill, which was a pain in his heart. Now someone dared to mock him. It was really intolerable. What are you going to do? Frieza trembled and retreated, but was pushed back to the front by Sam and little Arthur. No, Hongjun is also laughing. Why don't you go and deal with him? Xian Yang did not look back, but said expressionlessly, I can't seem to beat that guy, so I can only take it out on you. Oh. Frieza was speechless. The next scene was a joy to watch. Then the gun came out like a dragon, and a series of attacks fell. Frieza, Sam, little Arthur and others were all injured, which was more serious than the match with Ding Ning and others not long ago. TSK, you guy, you are really cruel. Hongjun stood aside and kept swelling. As a soul master, it was common for him to be beaten. Having more meals can also improve physical fitness and make the body more solid and compact. This is simply helping them practice. Seeing the moon rising above the treetops, the crowd around them gradually dispersed. Today, the 315 dormitory was very excited. A group of 6 people went to the private room on the 2nd floor of the cafeteria. Hongjun waved his hand generously. Brothers, order whatever you want. Today is a good day. Order whatever you want. I'll treat you. Then we won't be polite. Frieza's eyes lit up, and he rushed over and snatched the waiter's menu. This, and this. I want all of these. Hongjun secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he only ordered a dozen dishes. If Frieza said, in addition to these dishes, give me 1 portion of the rest, then I would really cry. I really don't know when I can change my bad habit of being face saving. Obviously, I'm so poor that I have to tighten my belt, but I still pretend to be a big boss to treat. However, when the dishes were served one after another, Ma Xiaopang's expression changed. From a slight twitch on his face to a bitter look at the end. This time I've lost a lot. It's just a college. Do you need to make the food so rich? Have you thought about the consequences of the students not being able to afford it? Eat. Hongjun, look at these dishes. They are all made of soul beast meat. So delicious. Frieza was eating with great enthusiasm, and before he finished speaking, he cast his eyes on another dish again. Eat, everyone. Eat and drink well. Finally, the meal was over. When the cafeteria waiter came to settle the bill, he said, a total of 24 gold soul coins were consumed. Ma Xiaopang staggered and almost fell to the ground. The 50 gold soul coins that he had sold with great difficulty were reduced by half in the blink of an eye. This was not a meal. This was clearly a money-eating meal. The sky was full of stars, and the interlaced silver light was shining. Xian Yang and the others walked slowly towards the dormitory. The bluestone path on the roadside was set off by the rustling leaves, and the clear reflection on the ground seemed as bright as day. I haven't had such a comfortable meal for a long time. Frieza held his stomach with emotion, looking after the taste. That's right, I didn't expect Hongjun to be a little rich man among us. Sam praised with a smile. When is the next time, Hongjun? There are still a few dishes we haven't tried yet. Hongjun remained silent. It's impossible in this lifetime. Speaking of which, we should be completely famous this time, right? Little Arthur's eyes lit up, recalling the game not long ago. The junior challenged the senior, and won. I guess we will all be famous when we go to class tomorrow. That's right, don't you see my brother's defense? Even the dean and others were shocked. Frieza raised his chin proudly. That's right, especially when our brother Yang said, my stick. Yeah. A chill suddenly came over, and Sam quickly shut up. Today's match was too tricky. Don't be complacent, or you will suffer a big loss in the future fights. As a senior martial artist, Hongjun's image of a little adult jumped out again. This fight depends entirely on surprise. If the opponent had not investigated our martial spirits and strength, it would be difficult for us to win. Hongjun concluded, if their auxiliary spirit masters had controlled my speed at the beginning, and let Ding Wei and others pin down Qian Yang and others, so as to directly attack me, we would probably lose miserably. You know, your absolute defense is high, but your shortcomings are too obvious. Well, Hongjun is right. After all, our spirit power is too weak. Even if we use spirit skills, the number of times is limited. Qian Yang nodded in agreement. Alas, it is me and Arthur who are holding everyone back. If we had broken through level 10 earlier and had spirit skills, we wouldn't have so many concerns. Sam also sighed. He and Arthur have been in the academy for a year, but they are only at level 9, belonging to the lowest level of soul warriors, and they haven't even opened their soul skills. Seeing the two of them frowning, Hongjun stepped forward and patted their shoulders, advising, don't be discouraged. Cultivation is not a matter of one day or one night. Only with a persevering heart can you become a real strong man. Well, Hongjun, you are right. We will definitely work hard. Seeing Sam and little Arthur nod, Hongjun nodded with great satisfaction. Then, he was stunned. I saw Sam raise his right hand, rub Marzianapang's fiery red hair and said, thank you Hongjun, I will definitely work hard. Well, me too. After graduation, I will go back to build my own village. Little Arthur also stepped forward and stretched out his hateful right hand. Both of them were much taller than Hongjun and subconsciously stretched out their hands. This damn, patting the head to kill. When can I grow taller? Chapter 33 Loki Campus Life. Chiji, Gugu. Another morning of singing, Hongjun got up as usual, washed up, and began his own practice. Practice is about perseverance. There are too many strong people in this world. Under the peaceful appearance, there are countless unknown darkness. Without strength, everything is empty talk. The improvement of soul power is steadily improving. For this aspect, Hongjun has no good way. His current strength is too weak, and it is not suitable to go to places where soul power can be quickly improved. The only way is to hone his martial arts. Although Tay-Tay had seen many martial arts books in his previous life through his wife's family, the spiritual power on the blue star was scarce, and it was impossible to cultivate the so-called internal force, so there was no way to verify the applicability of these skills. In the world of Douluo continent, there is endless soul power. As long as the level is improved, many martial arts skills will also have a place to use. As long as he succeeds in his training, then in the future, as his strength increases, he will have several times or even dozens of times more soul skills than others, and they will be more practical and more flexible on the battlefield. Seeing that Qian Yang had completely revealed his figure, Hongjun also stopped practicing. He first went to the cafeteria to have breakfast, and then went to the classroom for class. Unfortunately, it was another morning of standing in the corner. He ran away before the get out of class was over, angering the old professor, so he was punished to stand in the corner for a whole morning. Humph, it was actually jealousy. Naked jealousy. This old guy must have heard about the game yesterday. Didn't you see that the female students in the classroom were looking at him with youthful faces? The helpless old professor saw that he was more respected than him, and he was furious. He threw a pile of books directly, asking a bad guy who attracted the attention of his fans to go to the corner of the corner and out of sight, out of mind. However, all this was in vain. As soon as the get out of class was over, Hongjun was surrounded. The fragrant smell filled the whole corridor. Not only the students in his class, but also the seniors in the next class, came to Marzianapang to ask how to improve their strength. Some seniors even challenged him, but Ma Xiaopang chose to ignore them. Alas, once a person becomes famous, he will become a rare animal that is watched by the crowd. Obviously, they all have two eyes and one nose, but in the eyes of fans, they are different. Especially those different fans, they can't wait to eat him alive. No, I must think of a good spell. I can't let Xianyang beat me. Hongjun secretly made up his mind to think of a good spell. How can his handsome soul skills not have a loud spell? That's really unreasonable. In this way, Hongjun received the reward of standing in the corner again in the afternoon. This time, another bearded teacher was replaced, and he kindly asked him to get out and stand. Watching the sky in the distance turn from yellow to red, a day passed in a blink of an eye. Hongjun spent the most low-key day of his 3-year life in the other world in a happy standing. During this period, more than one senior sister invited him to train, but Ma Xiaopang refused them all. Am I that kind of person? Well, when I get angry one day, I will come to train with you one by one. Oh, it's so annoying. As soon as I arrived in the classroom today, I was surrounded by people, shouting that they wanted to spar with me, saying that they wanted to see who is the strongest in the class. Ma Xiaopang just returned to the dormitory and remembered Xiaoling sighing, but the tone seemed a little strange. Today, I was the same. Someone actually asked me if I wanted to join their family. They said that my defensive martial spirit is very similar to their families. Frieza also shook his head and sighed, with a hint of pride on his lips. Xianyang was silent, sitting cross-legged on the bed quietly, and it seemed that he was practicing soul power. Sam and Arthur were envious, and responded in a cooperative manner. Wow, you are really amazing. There are even challengers. Yes, there are actually people who invite Brother Frieza to join their family. It must be said that Sam and Arthur were really envious. Compared to the fact that their only role on the battlefield was to hide behind Frieza, they were greeted with contempt, which really made them sad. Okay, what's there to envy? Look at Xianyang, he spends all his extra time practicing. Do you still need to envy them? Hongjun closed the dormitory door and persuaded him earnestly. Look at me, I was surrounded by a group of schoolgirls today, clamoring to discuss practice with me. Am I proud? Even in class, the teacher was jealous of my talent and punished me for no reason. Am I proud? Hongjun sighed and walked towards the washing area. Tell me, is it easy for me? I just want to keep a low profile and attend classes all day long, but I have to be disturbed. It's really too hard. Hongjun rinsed his mouth and spit out a mouthful of saliva. He raised his head with emotion and looked up at the bright moon outside the window. Xianyang touched his eyes and opened them. He didn't want to practice anymore, and his eyes crossed with Xiaoling and others. It seemed to be saying, can we beat him up? Xiaoling, I think it's feasible. Frieza, add me. Sam, let's go together. Oh my god, what are you guys doing? An internal war took place in the dormitory 315 of Wenwu Pavilion. Ma Xiaopang was blocked in the small washroom, and 5 big men took turns to abuse him, and they went up and attacked him crazily. My handsome face. My old waist. Ouch, it hurts. My butt. Ma Xiaopang, lying on the bed, wailed miserably. The hateful roommates subjected him to an inhumane humiliation and beat him all over. Be quiet, don't let people sleep. The handsome boy next door couldn't help it. Although he knew the reputation of the dormitory next door. What do you want to do in the middle of the night? That's right, what are you yelling about? Look at the time, don't let people sleep. Frieza followed suit, looking very annoyed. Hongjun. At dawn the next day, Ma Xiaopang continued to get up early to practice. After class, it was another day of worship, and then he was sent to the door to practice horse stance practice. Time passed quickly, and Ma Xiaopang didn't go to class in the afternoon, but sneaked to the library to improve himself. Anyway, he would still practice horse stance practice if he went there, so he might as well change his taste. Nothing happened that night, and time came to the third day, and a new day began. Sometimes squatting horse stance is quite useful, which can exercise the stability of the lower body. Seeing that it was about noon, a figure wearing tights and high heels slowly walked over. You've had a fun day, little brat. The person who came was Ma Xiaopang's teacher, Vice Dean Shire. Come on, teacher. Hongjun quickly put down his book and said with a smile, I'm doing horse stance squats. Oh, really? Shia glanced at the classroom and then stared at Ma Xiaopang quietly. A dozen breaths passed and Hongjun felt a little embarrassed. Teacher, what do you want to talk to me about? Shia said expressionlessly, keep standing and remember to come to my office after school at noon. After that, she turned around and disappeared into the empty corridor. Chapter 34, Assessment from Shia. Eat, eat, eat. Hongjun completely ignored Shia's request. Nothing can be more important than eating. He is growing up now, and he must keep up with the pace of 3 meals a day. The most important thing is that he doesn't have to pay for lunch at noon. After eating, Ma Xiaopang went to the familiar building, and the sun was shining. Unlike the previous times, these teachers no longer passed by him indifferently, but looked at him with strange eyes one by one, and that look, with light. Dang dang. Dang dang dang. Ma Xiaopang knocked hard on the door, knocking more than 10 times in a row, and finally there was a response from inside. What are you knocking for? Get in here. Alas, is it wrong to respect teachers these days? Hongjun sighed, then pushed the door open and walked in. Hello, Teacher Shia. Hongjun showed 2 dimples and bowed to Shia in a naive manner. Don't pretend to be serious in front of me. I told you to come after class, but look how long it's been. Shia said with a sharp look in her eyes. How dare you stand me up? How is that possible? Hongjun shook his head righteously and explained, the professor kept me after class just now, so I was delayed for a while. Oh, really? Shia looked at him indifferently. Then please explain, what's the matter with the rice grain at the corner of your mouth? Did the professor stay to treat you to a meal? That? Hongjun quickly raised his hand to wipe the corner of his mouth clean. What a bad habit. No, teacher, I was hungry on the way just now, and I happened to see my roommate coming back to the classroom with his meal, so I snatched his meal and took a few bites. I didn't rush to come here, so I didn't eat much. But Hongjun covered his mouth with his hand. Damn, this damn physiological reaction. I ate too much. Shia sneered and just watched quietly. You make up stories. Keep making up stories for me. Teacher, what do you want to do with the students? Hongjun changed the subject. Not going to make up stories anymore? Shia said with a playful smile. I'm still a child. After calming down for about 10 breaths, Shia waved her hand. Come and sit down. With all the things you do, you can't be serious all day. Okay. Hongjun took 2 steps at a time and sat down opposite Shia. Do you have any gifts for me this time, teacher? Shia's forehead veins gradually bulged. Get out of the way and stand. This time, the teacher asked you to come for 2 things. One is your cultivation problem, and the other is about your graduation. You should know the graduation requirements of our Francis College, right? Yes. Hongjun wanted to move forward, as if nothing had happened. Stand up right there. I'm afraid you can't hear me clearly. I'm not hard of hearing. Stand up straight. Okay. Hongjun stood up again with his back against the door. I've been thinking about your cultivation these days. I can't deny that you have a good talent. You can control your soul power so accurately at such a young age. I have to say that you are a little monster. I've only met one like you in the past few decades. Thank you for the compliment. Shut up. Shia was so angry that she blew her nose and glared, and she squeezed her raised hand again and again. She wanted to punch this shameless apprentice. I'll shut up, teacher. Continue. Hongjun quickly covered his mouth with both hands. Shia took a deep breath and continued. So regarding your cultivation, the teacher has considered it carefully. Soul skills are not the focus. The main focus is still on burst. Your martial soul is a fire attribute, and you belong to a strong attack soul master. In addition, you have developed your own soul skills and the skills of using soul power. There is no need to waste soul skills in this regard. The main focus is still on burst. The power and burst of soul skills must be high enough. The second is the issue of your graduation. With your talent, the graduation requirements of the academy are not difficult at all. So the teacher has considered it again and again, and decided to set a new graduation assessment for you. After saying that, Shia smiled coldly. After all, there is motivation only when there is pressure. Teacher, this is for your own good. Hongjun swallowed with a sob. He always felt that what Shia was going to say next might change his beautiful future life. Cultivation is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you will retreat. Teacher, this is for your own good. Shia frowned, and she also found that Hongjun's face was a little gloomy. Hongjun said silently, Teacher, you say it. I can bear it. Let me say this. Teacher promises you, as long as you successfully complete the assessment before graduation, teacher can agree to one condition of yours, as long as the teacher can do it, whatever you want. Shia was determined to go all out. The apprentice she taught must be better than that old guy Doyle no matter what. Give me half of your property? Crack. The solid wood long table suddenly cracked, and a crack appeared on the entire tabletop for no reason. I was joking, Teacher Shia. Don't take it seriously. Hongjun quietly retreated to the door. After a few breaths, Shia said coldly, stand in and close the door. Don't embarrass me there. Oh. Why is it so tiring to talk to this little fat guy? I'm thinking about you wholeheartedly, but you are thinking about planning my property? These days, every man has a sinister intention. Shia sighed silently in her heart. Fortunately, I'm not married and have no children. Otherwise I might get angry and hurt one day. The task that the teacher gave you is actually not difficult. With your talent, 5 years is more than enough. Shia decided to finish her speech quickly so as to drive away the fat boy who intended to seize her property. In the south of the town of Yagus, on the Xianfeng Mountains about 100 kilometers away from the town, there is a group of bandits who often harass nearby villages. The teacher has investigated this group of bandits and found that the strongest leader is only a level 35 soul master, and the deputy leader is no more than 2 great soul masters. Shia quickly said, the teacher's request is very simple. You just need to wipe out this group of bandits before graduation. No matter what method you use, I only look at the result. Level 35 soul master and 2 great soul masters? Hongjun looked at Shia with his eyes wide open. He suspected that this woman had said something wrong. How many of their subordinates are there? Are you sure you have investigated them all? Teacher, I'm only the 13th level of your apprentice. Did I ask you to finish it now? Shia couldn't help rolling her eyes and said speechlessly, I said, before graduation. You still have 5 years to graduate. During these 5 years, you can unite with your classmates or invite teachers from the academy to help. I said, no matter what method you use, even if you ask people outside the academy for help, I will recognize you as your teacher. Then teacher, can I ask you for help? Hongjun asked quietly. Shia took a deep breath and said, teacher has decided. Hongjun's eyes lit up. I will tell the teachers in the academy privately. Anyone who dares to help Hongjun will be my enemy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Autumn Wind Sweeping Fallen Leaves. Time in the academy passed quickly, short and busy. In a blink of an eye, Hongjun had been at Francis Academy for 2 months. After the hustle and bustle of summer, the bleak autumn came. However, even in autumn, the blue-silver grass on the ground still stood tall and straight, not affected by the solemn atmosphere in the air. The leaves in the academy were flying, and even though students were arranged to clean up every day, the golden leaves were still led by the autumn wind and spread all over the academy. In the 2 months, Hongjun felt the tranquility, no one disturbed him, and his daily life went on and on. At this time, his soul power had reached level 15, 1 level a month, which shocked Shia. Even in the early stage of cultivation, Dean Doyle and others had never seen such a talented cultivation wizard. It was simply a little monster. In the past 2 months, no one came to disturb him. Even Ding Ning and Ding Wei and others, he only met them once or twice. Except for the crossed eyes, there was no intersection. Hongjun knew that all this might be attributed to his teacher. Without her help, how could the revenge of the Ding family be so peaceful? The group battle 2 months ago was like throwing a small stone into the lake. The waves dissipated in an instant without causing any big waves. Marzianapang, what are you daydreaming about? Hurry up and move. Frieza, who was standing by, was furious when he saw Ma Hongjun standing there in a daze. This guy was assigned to clean up the fallen leaves in the same dormitory. He was lazy all the way and just stood there motionless in the end. However, Ma Hongjun ignored him, but closed his eyes, feeling the rhythm of the wind and listening to the sound of the fallen leaves dancing. At this moment, he felt integrated with the surrounding environment, and the friction sound of the fallen leaves touching the ground even slowly fell into his ears. I'm talking to you, Fatty Ma. Don't pretend to be deaf and dumb. The 5 of us are here today. Do you want to be punished again? Frieza was still a little scared. Since he beat Ma Xiaopang last time, this guy would challenge him from time to time in the past 2 months, and he was beaten up by him on the stage. He didn't know how he used a silver needle to break his absolute defense. Until now, Frieza still didn't figure it out. Fat Ma is being lazy again. Brothers, come here quickly. Frieza decided to gather his teammates first. He couldn't beat him alone, so he could only choose to fight in a group. I see you. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, and Frieza was stunned. The wind blew stronger and stronger, and the fallen leaves around were blown up, forming a vortex around Ma Hongjun, and began to rotate neatly and orderly. Ma Hongjun, who was in the middle, kept his eyes closed quietly. The broom in his hand had already rolled to the ground, and his 2 chubby little hands slowly raised up. Xianyang and others also rushed over angrily at this time. You are being lazy again, aren't you, Ma Xiaopang? Sam's mouth gradually widened. That was caused by Ma Xiaopang. Not only the leaves on the ground, but also the leaves floating on the treetops were blown by the wind and began to rotate around the whirlwind. At this time, Ma Hongjun, who was in the center, disappeared and was completely wrapped in the golden leaves. The location of the whirlwind gathered more and more, gradually attracting the attention of the passing students, and more students were attracted. The wind is rising from the ground. Who is performing soul skills here? Seeing the fallen leaves flying all over the sky, some innocent and romantic girls had stars in their eyes. The fallen leaves in the sky were foggy, like a big-autumn painting, making people unnaturally immersed in it. However, at this moment, a wisp of light green smoke floated up. In a moment, the fire spread. Countless autumn leaves seemed to be ignited at the same time, and they actually burned in an instant. Quick, put out the fire. How could they not know where the fire came from? The martial soul of the guy inside was a fire attribute mutant martial soul. Ma Hongjun, you, watch out. Xianyang swept out with a stick, sweeping the fallen leaves around him, trying to stop the spread of the fire. Shaolin martial arts, falling leaf palm. A low hum came from the whirlwind, and the originally blazing fire seemed to be attracted, and it flew and spun in an instant, but it only danced around the whirlwind, without any contact with the fallen leaves around it. Scatter. The fallen leaves all over the sky burned up, turned into dust and fell down. When the dust cleared, the little black man in the middle was also revealed. However, Ma Hongjun still closed his eyes and stood there quietly, swinging his arms left and right, even though the ashes were all over his body. He is. Little Arthur stretched out his hand curiously, wanting to see if Ma Xiaopang was acting weird again. Xianyang grabbed his hand and said with a serious expression, "Don't move. Hongjun should have realized some skills and abilities. Don't disturb him." "No way, again." Xiaoling's face suddenly showed bitterness. This is the 3rd time in 2 months. Every time Ma Hongjun can create a strange soul skill that is hard to guard against. Let's guard around him for him. Don't let anyone disturb him. Xianyang stood aside silently, sweeping the fallen leaves, while being alert to the surroundings. At this time, Ma Hongjun was also completely immersed in his own world of consciousness. The heart moves with the will, and the body moves with the heart. He carefully felt the flow of soul power in his body. With the blessing of the martial god body, his attributes in all aspects have increased by 55%. As the soul power flows into the palm in a special way, and then the soul power is shot out by a unique method, it finally produces the effect just now, causing the fallen leaves around to fly. This is an ancient Shaolin martial art called the falling leaf palm. Through the understanding during this period, Ma Hongjun has successfully performed the first of the 7 styles of the falling leaf palm. As long as he is given some more time, Ma Xiaopang will completely master this set of palm techniques and cultivate his own special soul skill. The palm of the falling leaf palm is as gentle as the wind, but it can burst out with a terrifying force beyond imagination when it hits the opponent. Hongjun not only absorbed his explosive attack power, but also used the characteristics of his fire attribute martial soul to drive the power of the strange fire from the palm through soul power. The power is no less than the explosive effect brought by his first soul skill. Seeing that the sky is approaching, Hongjun finally slowly opened his eyes. Although his body is extremely tired, his eyes are full of joy. He succeeded and finally cultivated this ancient martial art that has troubled him for many days. The falling leaf palm will no longer be limited to close combat similar to joint fighting skills, but it can not only burst out powerful attacks at close range, but also hit a palm in the air, unexpectedly. Alright. Hongjun turned around and saw his 5 roommates squatting under the tree with resentment. At this time, except for the sparse fallen leaves that had not been cleaned up, most of them had been cleaned up. Thank you all. Hongjun cupped his hands and said generously, come on, brothers, I'll treat you to a meal in the cafeteria. Really? Freezer and others' eyes suddenly lit up. Eating too much at night is not good for your health. I'll treat you to a bowl of noodles. Chapter 36 Return to the Soul Beast Forest. Teacher, do we have a tent? No. But we should have sleeping bags. No. Then where do we sleep tonight? Find a bush and lie down. No way. Hongjun looked bitter. After spending nearly a year, Ma Xiaopang's soul power reached level 20, becoming the fastest genius student in Francis College. However, even so, Ma Xiaopang still felt it was too slow. He was making progress, and the enemy would naturally not stand still. He was already a level 35 soul master a year ago, so what about a year later? That bandit leader might have broken through to level 40. And he has 2 subordinates. What if he breaks through to soul master? And his subordinates? Ma Xiaopang couldn't imagine that his roommates, who were incomplete practitioners, would be lucky if they didn't drag him down. Who told you to be so picky, you little brat? I saw 2 or 3 suitable soul beasts along the way, but you rejected them all. Shia got angry when she thought about it. It's just a second soul ring. Why do you have to be so picky? You disliked the cold attribute of the suitable soul ring. You disliked the fire attribute because it was too young. I finally found one with the right age and attributes, but you said to me, it's not majestic and domineering enough. I don't like it. If it weren't for you, I would have been home by now, and there would be no need to sleep in the wilderness. Shia got angrier and angrier as she thought about it. She directly picked up Ma Xiaopang's collar and threw him high into the air, landing on a tree branch more than 10 meters high. What are you doing, teacher? Why did you throw me up here for no reason? Hongjun stood firmly on the tree branch and complained angrily. We'll rest here tonight. You stand guard up there. Shia found a relatively dry gravel area and sat down on the ground. After a while, Shia felt his body warm up. He opened his eyes and found that Ma Xiaopang had come down and had lit a fire beside him. Didn't I ask you to keep watch up there? Ma Xiaopang chuckled. Same teacher, same down there. You sleep and I'll help you watch the fire. You're such a naughty kid. Shia didn't bother to pay attention to him and continued to close her eyes and fall asleep. However, she soon couldn't fall asleep. The rich aroma of meat entered her nose, waking Shia up from her sleepiness. She opened her eyes and found that Ma Xiaopang had caught a little rabbit and was roasting it on the fire. And the salt he sprinkled on the roasted rabbit seemed to be salt. Where did this stinky boy get the salt? Do you think we are here for a picnic camping trip? Shia's forehead was bulging with veins and she was on the verge of exploding. I thought that you hadn't eaten yet and you'd be hungry when you wake up later, so I prepared it in advance. Ma Xiaopang handed over the roasted rabbit meat and asked naively, do you want to eat, teacher? Teacher, I'm not hungry, you can eat it yourself. After Shia finished speaking, she jumped up to the sky and jumped onto a tree branch that was about 10 feet high. She decided to sleep there tonight. If you don't want to eat, then I will. Ma Xiaopang grabbed the roasted rabbit meat and began to feast on it. After a while, his mouth was full of oil and there was a pile of bones on the ground. I'm full. Ma Xiaopang rubbed his greasy little hands on the blue silver grass on the ground, patted his belly, and said with satisfaction, sure enough, people need to eat enough to sleep. There was no conversation all night until the sun shone down, and Ma Xiaopang woke up slowly. He raised his head, but there was no one. He turned his head and looked around, only to find that the old woman had already washed by the stream. Really, why do we have to be so particular in the forest? Ma Xiaopang yawned and muttered a few words, then stood up with a somersault, waving his chubby arms and said loudly, "Good morning, teacher. Hurry up, get ready." Shia felt that she had almost gotten used to it. Even if Hongjun bent down to admit his mistake that day, she felt that she could lift her feet suddenly. It must be said that the geographical location of the town of Agus is really good. Except for the Soul Beast Forest, the surrounding towns are far away. There are not so many Soul Masters to capture, which also leads to the extremely rich number of Soul Beasts in the periphery. Stinky boy, what kind of soul ring do you want to find? Seeing that noon was approaching, if they walked further, they would almost enter the inner circle of the Soul Beast Forest. Although Shire has the strength of a Soul Emperor, in the inner circle of the Soul Beast Forest, if you are not careful, Soul Beasts of 10,000 years will appear. Once you are besieged, even she will find it difficult to escape. Hongjun stopped and asked in a deep voice, "Teacher, do you think there is any Soul Beast soul ring that can give me the ability to fly at level 20? Ma Xiaopang remembered that in the original book, he absorbed the soul ring of the King of the Earth at level 40 and gained the ability to fly. The skill of flying? Dia rolled her eyes at him. What, are you kidding? Let alone level 20, even level 40, 50 or even 60 is no chance. Look at so many soul masters, except for those who are born with flying martial spirits. Which soul master has obtained the soul ring of flying skill? Too few. It's all based on luck." Dia finally understood that this brat was so picky because he wanted to get the skill of flying. I have to say that people with delusional disorder are really terrible. Being rich and powerful is all based on imagination. Just lying on the bed will give you everything. No, it seems that you can just close your eyes. Really not? Hongjun was a little unwilling. The King of the Earth didn't dare to have any unreasonable thoughts now. Not to mention, whether Teacher Shire could beat him. Even if he could, his body couldn't absorb it. That was a soul beast of nearly 4,500 years old. And he provoked a soul beast that would often bring a group of soul beasts. You know, according to Yuziao Gang, the limit of the second soul ring that the human body can withstand is only 764 years. Even for himself, this gap of nearly 4,000 years is simply impossible to make up. Forget it, I'll absorb it next time I meet a suitable one. Ma Xiaopang shook his head helplessly. There is no need to force it. Anyway, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Who? Not long after, Shire stopped Ma Xiaopang, who wanted to move forward again. There are soul beasts around, be alert. Shire heard the sound of heavy breathing faintly in her ears, but she couldn't judge the direction for a while. Ma Xiaopang silently took out the silver dragon spear. The silver dragon spear as thick as a needle flashed in his hand and turned into a silver spear as long as 1.5 meters. Ma Xiaopang crossed his left and right hands, thrusting his silver spear diagonally at the ground, and took a fully defensive posture. This soul beast is not simple. It can actually evade my perception. Shire murmured in a low voice. At this time, she had also summoned her own martial soul, ready to fight at any time. Tick-tock. However, at this moment, a drop of liquid suddenly dripped on Ma Xiaopang's face. Chapter 37 Second Soul Ring. The chubby little hand unconsciously wiped his face, and a ball of white sticky liquid suddenly appeared on his little hand. It's on it. Hongjun and Shire raised their heads almost at the same time, and the last one stabbed the spear, and the other used a soul skill, and suddenly attacked the huge black shadow hanging in the air. Roar. Shire's attack arrived first, directly hitting the monster's huge head. The monster felt pain and roared angrily. The whole figure appeared from behind the dense leaves. It turned out to be a monster with wings. The 6 wings flashed, breaking the branches around. It's a 6-winged crocodile snake. I saw this strange soul beast with 3 pairs of wings flying up, and its head was like a crocodile, and its nearly 1 meter long crocodile mouth was full of fangs. Its body was snake-shaped, and its tail was like a sharp spear, emitting a cold light. Get out of the way. The 6-winged crocodile snake swung its tail, and it fell like a sharp spear. Shire and Marzianapang jumped away at the same time. The tail hit the ground fiercely and penetrated deeply into the ground. Teacher, take it. The six-winged crocodile snake is generally long, but judging from the body of this crocodile snake, it is at most about 1,000 years old. Maybe after absorbing its spirit ring, I can really gain the skill of flying. Okay, stand aside. Teacher will teach this disgusting guy a lesson first. Shire sneered. 6 spirit rings surrounded her body, and a blood-red leopard also emerged. The scales of the six-winged crocodile snake were green, just blending in with the surrounding environment. If it hadn't accidentally revealed a murderous intention, I'm afraid even Shire would have found it difficult. First spirit skill, Bloody Netherworld. Shire turned into a red blood shadow, jumping left and right on the tree, and in the blink of an eye, she jumped to the top of the six-winged crocodile snake's head, and then clawed down with a bloody claw. It's pretty hard. The back of the six-winged crocodile snake was covered with scales. When it was attacked, it was like armor, blocking the sudden claw, leaving only a visible scratch. Second soul skill, Blood Leopard Attack. While the six-winged crocodile snake had not recovered yet, Shire launched another attack. The crocodile snake was very fast and could fly. Once it escaped from its attack range, it would be difficult to catch it. With one move, the six-winged crocodile snake's 2 wings were directly broken, and it broke more than a dozen branches in succession before it stabilized its body. I'll come to. At some point, Marzianapang also jumped onto the branch, stabbed out with the silver dragon spear in his hand, and accurately pierced the six-winged crocodile snake's eyes. Raw. A stream of yellow viscous thick liquid shot out, and the leaves were instantly corroded wherever it was touched. The six-winged crocodile snake's eyeballs had no scales to defend it, so Marzianapang shot it down and directly poked its eyeballs. The six-winged crocodile snake was in pain, and swung its body in the air. Several trees around it were shaken by its impact. Seeing the tail swinging, Hongjun also dodged and jumped onto the back of the crocodile snake, then raised the silver dragon spear, and tried to stab it from the top of his head. Clang, it's really hard. Marzianapang dodged and jumped off the body of the six-winged crocodile snake. There was no way, if he didn't leave, he would be affected by Teacher Dia's attack. Fourth soul skill, Boiling Blood. Hongjun looked up and saw a human-shaped blood shadow in the sky, which seemed to have transformed into a leopard, and fell straight down. The six-winged crocodile snake also slowed down at this time, but the surrounding environment was too complicated, which greatly limited its speed, so it had to choose to use its tail for offensive defense. However, Dia, who used the third soul skill, seemed to have transformed into a female Tyrannosaurus. Facing the tail like a sharp spear, Dia directly waved her left and right hands and hit the six-winged crocodile snake's tail so hard that the spear was bent. It's so scary. Hongjun silently pushed it aside, alerting all around and preventing the six-winged crocodile snake from escaping. Soon, the wings of the six-winged crocodile snake were all broken, and even its tail drooped weakly. Hurry up, this thing is only breathing. Dia stepped down and pressed the huge head firmly to the ground. Hongjun was stunned for a moment, then immediately rushed forward and stabbed it with a gun without saying a word. Clang, another sound of golden swords colliding sounded, and poor Marzianapang still didn't pierce its head. Are you stupid from reading books? Everything is piercing. Dia said angrily. The scales on the head of the six-winged crocodile snake are the toughest. You can either stab the eyes or stab it from the mouth. If you really can't do it, stab its heart in the abdomen. Okay. Marzianapang awkwardly pulled back the gun. He was too lazy to find the location of the heart, so he stabbed it directly from its other open eye. As the six-winged crocodile snake struggled and roared, a light purple soul ring slowly rose from its head. This thing is actually 1,000 years old. Shire was stunned. Why don't we change it? It's too old and too dangerous to absorb. It's okay, teacher. I want to try. Marzianapang stretched out his hand and let the soul ring merge into his body. You stinky boy. Shire saw this and didn't have time to stop it. The soul ring had already merged into his body. It was too late. Marzianapang, who absorbed this soul ring, closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground and began his own path to breakthrough. It's not that he didn't want to be safe, but he was forced to do so. He has tried more than once. Every time he used his soul power to impact the acupoints, it was like a drop in the ocean. There was no sign of it being broken through. And if all the 360 acupoints want to be broken through, if the age of the absorbed soul ring does not exceed the limit, I'm afraid that the soul power provided for the breakthrough will not be enough, let alone breaking through the acupoints. As soon as the purple soul ring was integrated, a violent soul power instantly poured into his limbs and bones, wantonly destroying his body. The chubby body suddenly looked like a cooked prawn, all red. You must hold on, brat. Shia clenched her fists and finally showed a bit of panic. The second soul ring reached 1,000 years, which was unheard of even in the entire Douluo continent. Although his apprentice usually spoke incoherently, when he was really serious, he couldn't even listen to his teacher's words. The sharp light in his eyes was deeper than many older people. At this time, the chaotic soul power in Ma Xiaopang's body far exceeded his own soul power. No matter how he guided it, his meridians suffered a lot. Fortunately, every time he attacked the acupoints, the violent soul power would not only be consumed, but also filled into the acupoints. With this increase and decrease, he was able to overcome the initial difficulties. Chapter 38 Highway Robbery. In the silent soul beast forest, Shia was watching the surroundings vigilantly, while Hongjun was sitting cross-legged on the corpse of the six-winged crocodile snake, his body red like a cooked prawn, gritting his teeth and holding on. The impact on each acupoint was like a tearing of the flesh. After being forcibly torn apart and then sewn up, the pain was simply a torture to the soul. Hongjun gritted his teeth and endured it. Although it was dangerous to do so, it was also an opportunity to improve himself. At this time, the acupoints around his abdomen had basically been opened and were about to impact his limbs. Hold on. You must hold on. After an afternoon, Hongjun's face gradually warmed up. It was not until the sky was completely dark that he finally completely absorbed and converted all the violent soul power brought by the six-winged crocodile snake soul ring. It's done. Shia walked forward happily. Smelly boy, can't you be more stable? I haven't even finished what I'm saying. As she said that, she flew over and kicked Ma Xiaopang, who had just stood up, and kicked him out. Ouch. Hongjun just stood up, and his body rolled out like a ball and hit a branch directly. The poor bird's nest was attacked, and the two nightingales who were enjoying the nightlife in the nest were scared and flew away in the north and south directions. Teacher, why did you hit me? Hongjun fell from the treetop, holding his buttocks, and his fluffy fiery red short hair was covered with dry leaves. Do you know it hurts? Di glared angrily. Ma Xiaopang laughed and said, it hurts. It hurts me. It hurts the teacher. I know I was wrong. Ouch. Di didn't say anything and kicked over again, and poor Ma Xiaopang flew again. Talk to me honestly. On the way back, Ma Xiaopang was honest and didn't say a word. Although Di used clever strength when hitting people, it still hurt. Especially after being kicked 7 times in a row and being seen by a passing soul master. Hongjun was so embarrassed that he wanted to hide in the bushes immediately. Why, you're not talking anymore. Shia rolled her eyes. Didn't I just kick you a few times? Is there any need to be so angry? Isn't it the teacher's job to educate students? Who are you, and what do you want to do? However, at this moment, a burst of hurried horse hooves suddenly sounded outside the carriage. The driver pulled the reins in panic, a little angry. Haha, can't you see who we are? Hongjun and Shia looked at each other, and then prepared to sneak out quietly. Sit in the carriage, it's none of your business. However, as soon as he stood up, he was pushed back by Shia. How dare you stop my carriage? You are so impatient. It's over. These guys are probably going to be in trouble. This is the second time that Ma Xiaopang has seen teacher Shia with this expression. The last time he saw this expression, Aldino was in a terrible state. He was beaten black and blue and didn't dare to come to school for a week. It seems that it was because he said, "You are old." Sure enough, the word old is a taboo for any woman. Oh, and a woman. Boss, you are lucky today. You came out to take a walk late at night and met a woman. She just looks a little old, but she is well maintained. These guys are finished. Although I don't know how strong this group of people are, but all the brothers are holding weapons, and they don't look very good, so they can't be strong. Can a strong man rob people on the road? Is the strong man still short of money? Will he also lack women? Looking at the lustful eyes of this group of people, they even don't dislike teacher Dia, a woman who is nearly 50 years old. They are all starry-eyed, and they are a bunch of trash at first glance. 6 spirit rings. This woman is a spirit emperor. After teacher Dia went out, she showed her martial spirit and spirit rings without saying a word. The bandits riding on horses were silent. Their eyes were wide open. Brothers, don't be afraid. Isn't our eldest brother also a spirit king of level 59? Isn't she just a woman? Why are we afraid of her? Go together. However, before this guy could say anything, he found that his boss was gone, and the horse was empty. Where is he? A voice came from not far away. Brothers, run quickly. See you again, if we are lucky. Want to run? Dia dodged and quickly chased after him. A group of bandits stood there in a daze, and they couldn't come back to their senses for a while. Brothers, the boss is buying time for us. You must have a lot of good stuff in the Soul Emperor's carriage. If you rob it, you will definitely make a fortune tonight. Someone shouted, and the bandits finally came to their senses. Boss is so good, so brave. I admire him so much. Boom. The sound of the earth shaking came from not far away. Ah. Followed by screams. Woo woo. Boss is so brave. He actually led a Soul Emperor away by himself. Brothers, let's not disappoint the boss's hope. Quick, move all the things in the carriage. What do you want to do? The driver was a little panicked. Although he knew there was a Soul Master in the carriage, he was just a little kid. What good could he do? The dozen big men in front of him, each spitting. Wouldn't they drown the fat guy inside? Well, your guy seems to be the apprentice of the Soul Emperor, and these bandits probably don't dare to do anything to him. None of my business. Guys, if you want to rob, go ahead. Can you allow me to go first? Get lost. The deputy leader of the bandits waved his hand, signaling him to get lost. I'm not interested in men. Okay. The driver threw the rope, and without caring whether the horse would run away by itself, he turned over and got into the bushes beside him. Oh my god, this thing runs really fast. Majiapang leaned against the door curtain and watched silently through the gap. At this time, he had already taken out his silver dragon spear, holding his breath and observing every move outside. The soul power fluctuations of this guy in front of him were not strong. The strongest one was only the deputy leader, but at most he had the strength of a soul master. He had now broken through to become a great soul master with a soul power strength of level 23. As long as he killed the deputy leader with a sneak attack, the rest would not be a big deal. It seems that this group of people should be a temporary gang. I don't know how the leader tricked them into joining the gang. A group of people actually followed him to fight on this road. Isn't this courting death? Who of the organizations that can freely enter and exit the Soul Beast Forest is not a soul master? These guys actually chose this place to rob. Do they really think that a small soul king can make a little wave? But let's be honest, there are indeed a lot of good things. Most of the things that can be brought out of the Soul Beast Forest are good materials that can only be found on soul beasts. For example, the 6-winged crocodile snake killed by Hongjun this time, the nails and teeth, and the wings on its back are all good materials. If it weren't for the idea of selling them for a good price after returning, Majiapang would have sold them when he came out just now. Second in command, take a look. What treasures are there? The deputy leader walked forward with a smile and was about to reach out to lift the curtain. Whoosh! A silver light flashed, and the poor bandit had just been the deputy leader for 3 days, and he was completely silent. A gunshot pierced his forehead, and he died instantly. Chapter 39. Total Annihilation. A silver spear pierced directly from the back of his head, almost piercing the forehead of the person behind him at the same time. Spear. A group of newly organized bandits, who had no experience, were stunned when they saw their deputy leader die for no reason. Martial God Body, Fusion. Although Majiapang likes to joke and play, he is definitely not a soft-hearted person. At the moment of stabbing the deputy leader to death, blood splashed on his nose and even made him inexplicably excited, with a sinister smile on the corner of his mouth. Hongjun put away his gun instantly. He was not going to give this group of people any chance to talk nonsense. When he jumped up, the silver dragon spear in his hand was thrown out from the air and directly pierced into the chest of the person behind him. Then 6 wings formed by flames grew on his back, like a bright light flashing in the dark night, and flew into the sky in an instant. Second soul skill, Phoenix Rain. Marzianapang's second soul skill allowed him to obtain the flying skill as he wished, and it was a 6-wing flying skill. Although this skill consumes soul power very much, it can only last for less than 20 minutes at most, and this is when other soul skills are not used. If the skills attached to the second soul skill are used, it can only last for 10 minutes at most. But it is enough. Marzianapang decided to fight quickly and not leave any chance for this group of people. Phoenix Rain is a group skill. Although its power is not as strong as the first soul skill, Evil Phoenix Assault, it has a wide range. With his current soul power, he can launch an attack covering a range of 10 meters in diameter. No, there is another soul master on the carriage. Everyone retreat quickly. After Hongjun killed the deputy leader and flew high into the sky, he frightened this group of inexperienced bandits. They are all soul masters with soul power, but they were frightened by a little kid who was less than 10 years old. The sky full of fiery red feathers fluttered, like a red rain of fire, falling rapidly from the sky. Can you run away? Marzianapang sneered, flapping his wings and falling rapidly. It's not that he is arrogant, but the strongest of the group of people in front of him is only a great soul master of level 20. With the power of Teacher Shire's appearance not long ago, he can definitely scare this group of people by showing explosive attacks as soon as he comes out. As long as he kills a few of the young and powerful bandits before they have time to come to their senses, then he will win. Attack them when they are unprepared, take advantage of their opportunities. Hongjun had already understood these thoroughly in his previous life. Fighting is only fair on the ring, it does not exist in real life, and life and death fighting requires every possible means. Falling leaf palm. Marzianapang hummed and struck out with a palm, knocking a bandit who escaped the attack range of his second soul skill to the ground in the air. First soul skill, Evil Phoenix Assault. Another soul skill was launched, and Marzianapang decisively withdrew his wings that consumed a lot of soul power and switched to hand-to-hand combat. The 1.5 meter long silver dragon spear appeared out of thin air again. He thrust out a spear, and the chest of the bandit closest to him was pierced by the spear. The moment he pulled out the spear, blood spurted out. Don't be afraid, he's just a kid, and he's just a great spirit master. Let's deal with him first. At the same time, after Marzianapang removed his wings, his short and fat figure finally emerged. Isn't this just a little kid? We were actually frightened by a little fat guy. The group of bandits also reacted at this time and stopped running away. Oh, really? Marzianapang sneered, holding a spear that didn't fit his size, squatting and surrounded by the remaining 10 bandits. Although the second spirit skill Phoenix Rain was very cool and had a wide range, the damage was not high. In addition, the bandits were focused on escaping and defending, so the damage was very limited. Except for the 4 people killed in the sneak attack, the rest of the bandits were injured, but their combat power was well preserved. Phantom Steps. Marzianapang stepped on the phantom steps, dodging left and right in the crowd, stabbing the silver dragon spear in his hand from time to time, causing damage to the bandits, and then quickly dodging the attack from behind. Everyone, be careful, this little fat guy is too flexible, we must pay attention to his sneak attacks. 10 bandits, but they couldn't take down a little kid for a long time. In addition to leaving a wound on Marzianapang's shoulder, someone on his side was shot through the shoulder. If he was a step slower, it would probably be the chest. This is called fighting. Marzianapang's eyes were bloodshot, and he felt the blood in his body boiling. This feeling was really great. In his previous life, he had to be cautious every time he participated in a martial arts competition, fearing that he would accidentally hit hard. But here, he didn't need to consider these things at all. Since this group of people chose a life of blood on the edge of a knife, it was destined that no one would care if they died. The blood on his shoulder slowly seeped through his clothes, making the red clothes on his body look even more weird in the dark. Everyone, come on. Each of them had a weapon, and as a soul master, even if they were weak, they could still use their soul skills. Soon, Marzianapang was beaten so badly that he could only raise his gun to block. The wounds on his body began to increase. After all, there were too many people, and he only had a soul power of level 23. Even if he had been using martial arts to fight hand to hand, his body was getting weaker and weaker. As blood was lost and physical strength was consumed, Hongjun's attack speed became slower and slower. Come again. Marzianapang gritted his teeth, and excitement flashed inexplicably on his sinister smile. In the dim forest, the moonlight was bright and the stars were shining. There was more and more blood on the ground, some from Marzianapang and some from the bandits. In order to make better use of the terrain, Marzianapang led the group of bandits into the woods on both sides of the road, using the trees to hide his figure. On the top of a big tree, a slender figure was quietly watching every move below. Yes, ruthless, decisive, a good candidate. If someone looked closer at this time, they would find that there was a special symbol on his shoulder representing the spirit hall. He was a combat soul master, and also a powerful soul Douluo. Then, he glanced at the one-sided slaughter not far away. She is Shire. Interesting. This little fat guy could be my disciple. The black shadow had a sneer on his lips, and seemed to be sketching some interesting ideas in his mind. In the forest below, Marzianapang hid in a bush, enduring the pain in his body, and using his soul power to suppress his bleeding wounds. He had killed 6 people, and there were still 4 bandits left looking for his traces. This feeling is really good. At this time, Hongjun was like an old hunter in the jungle, holding his breath and waiting for the arrival of prey. Damn it, catch that little fat guy. He has no strength left. The 4 bandits waved their swords viciously. They had completely forgotten the purpose of their trip. Now they just wanted to kill that little brat. They were obviously a group of bandits, but they were killed by a child. Be careful. However, at this moment, a silver spear suddenly stabbed out from the right front of him, piercing his chest quickly and accurately. Swoosh! Almost at the same time as the silver spear stabbed out, another sound of breaking through the air came. It was a dagger, the dagger with the title of Tetanus Blade collected by Marzianapang, which flew out directly and accurately inserted into the throat of another bandit. Tick, tick, tick. Blood slowly dripped from Marzianapang's body. He had no strength left. He forced himself to climb back to the carriage, performed a simple hemostasis on himself, and then completely fainted. Chapter 40. Is this my master? HMM. Hongjun woke up and sat up in pain all over his body, but as soon as he stood up, he immediately lay back down in pain. Oh my god, how did I become like this? Marzianapang looked up and found that he was wrapped up like a dumpling, with 3 layers of gauze inside and outside his body. Except for his eyes and mouth, everything else was wrapped tightly. If it were in his time, he would be mistaken for an ancient Egyptian on the day of custody, and then hurriedly carried back to the pyramid, and locked up for permanent sealing. Feeling the pain of his body gradually waking up, the memories of last night gradually emerged in his mind. I was really impulsive. He had just obtained the 2nd soul ring, but he actually fought 14 at once. He was impulsive. Isn't this playing with his life? Fortunately, those people are stupid, otherwise I would have died there. There was not a single piece of good flesh on his body, either hit by spirit skills or scratched by knives. Marzianapang vaguely remembered that his handsome face seemed to have been stabbed 3 times. It's over. I'm disfigured. 3 scars, definitely disfigured. Hongjun looked bitter, as if he wanted to cry. Don't worry, it's not that serious. I've applied medicine to you. You will be completely recovered in half a month. At this time, the door was pushed open and Shire strode in. Behind her followed a girl in a maid outfit, holding a full plate of food, including soup, vegetables, and rice. This time, it's all the teacher's fault. If the teacher hadn't been impulsive to chase the leader, you wouldn't have been besieged. Shire still felt a little guilty. Although her apprentice was usually naughty, she still respected her teacher after all. So, Teacher Shire, how are you going to make up for the guilt in your heart? Are you going to give me some of your property? Marzianapang looked at him with a lewd face, and his eyes were full of stars. Shire, you little bastard, do you think you can covet my property? Ha ha ha. At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly rang out from outside the door. Interesting, interesting. Sha, your new little apprentice is really interesting. A handsome person wearing a black robe and long grey hair to the waist walked in. She looked like a woman, but why did the voice sound like a man? Ma Xiaopang was confused, and for a moment he couldn't tell the gender of the person. Who is this? The black-robed man smiled and pointed at himself. Have you forgotten so quickly? I was the one who saved you last night. How can the kids nowadays be so heartless? Shia rolled her eyes at him unhappily, then turned around and said, "This is my master, your grandmaster. You are so shameless all day long, and you still save people. Seeing your own grandson being beaten there, you actually want to thank him." Ma Xiaopang was stunned at first, and then his eyes gradually brightened. "Hello, Grandmaster." Oh. Douluo was stunned for a moment, and just as he was about to smile and agree, he saw Ma Xiaopang sitting up, while enduring the pain, and stretched out two fat hands wrapped in gauze. "Grandmaster, it's our first meeting. Do you have a gift for your grandson?" The young nanny walked forward consciously, placed the food neatly on the small table, and then retreated without saying a word. Well, Grandmaster came in a hurry, and didn't bring any good things with him. "I'll give it to you next time." Douluo silently glanced at Shire on the side, and his eyes seemed to say, "Is this the apprentice you accepted? What the hell is this?" "It's okay, master. The gift is small, but the sentiment is great. Just give me some token of your appreciation." Ma Xiaopang looked at Douluo with a smile, his two little hands still raised. Then, finally, after reading Ma Xiaopang's eyes for most of the day, Douluo handed over the black bead with a distressed look. After understanding Douluo's true feelings, Ma Xiaopang happily accepted the gift. "By the way, master, you happened to be there last night." Douluo smiled and said, "After I came here yesterday afternoon, I learned from Aldino that Shire had accepted a new apprentice and took him to the Soul Beast Forest to hunt for the second soul ring. So master followed all the way and happened to meet you on the road. Yeah, hiding in the corner to watch your apprentice being beaten." Shire looked at him unhappily. Although she felt that she had done something wrong this time, she felt that her master was even more hateful, actually watching the show from the side. Ma Xiaopang silently put the black bead into his pocket, and then his face became stern. "It's master, you see how badly I was injured, and you didn't even help me." Douluo laughed. "You little guy, do you still need my help? Look at my injured master. Why don't I need help? I don't think it's necessary. With your strength, you have no pressure to fight 14. If master shows up, won't it disturb your performance?" "Oh, well, it seems that my master is really watching the whole process. But your hot temper is really comparable to your master. You don't even consider your strength and just hold a gun and fight hard." Ma Xiaopang smiled and waved his hands, saying, "That's not really a choice. If I don't kill them, they will have to kill me. The first to strike is the strongest and the last to strike will suffer. Is this why you are so murderous at such a young age?" Shia looked at him with a cold face. Although she still finds it unbelievable, this brat in front of her has just obtained the second soul ring, but he can actually have such a strong strength. Even though he hadn't seen the dozen bodies, judging from the blood on the silver dragon spear he had given him, what the old man Douluo said was probably true. The 14 bandits were probably already dead. The bodies had probably been torn to pieces by the wild beasts. This is not a murderous intention, but a self-preservation intention. Hongjun answered solemnly, "If I don't kill them, they will kill me." The empty ward was silent. From time to time, there were slight footsteps outside the corridor, but no one opened the door, and they all passed by quietly. After a long while, Shire held her forehead and said, "I admit that your idea is right, but you are still too young. Don't be too murderous, otherwise it will be easy to fall into the trap in the future." Douluo nodded in agreement, and said in a serious tone, "Your teacher is right. This world is very chaotic. It is right to be vigilant, but you are still too young. Don't let this murderous intention cloud your mind." "No, teacher, master, I have my own ideas. Even if I come again, I will still kill them." Ma Xiaopang knew that he was very weak in this world. He was so weak that, if there was a strong man behind this group of bandits to retaliate, he would not be able to escape. Is it useful to hide in school? The teachers in the school cannot be there at all times, and they cannot protect themselves at all times. If you want to cut the grass, you must get rid of the roots, otherwise there will be endless troubles. This is the principle he has summed up in his 2 lives. Never believe in anyone's promise. Okay, the point of my standing here is not this. Douluo decided to interrupt this topic and continued, Marzianapang, are you willing to join our Wuhan Hall? Chapter 41 Joining the Spirit Hall. Join the Spirit Hall? Marzianapang was stunned. It was not until now that he realized that his master's robe was a little special. It seemed that the badge on the shoulder was somewhat similar to that of the great spirit master named Zhao. Hongjun glanced at Shia who was standing beside him. Shia rolled her eyes at him unhappily, but still nodded. Your teacher too. Why can't I join the Spirit Hall? Just because I'm the vice president of the academy? No way. Marzianapang's face suddenly turned bitter. Joining the Spirit Hall, wouldn't that be an enemy of Tang-san, the son of destiny? Although I also traveled through time and space, and I have outstanding talents, handsome and elegant, and I look elegant, but can I really beat that cheetah? Marzianapang still felt a little insecure about the Cheetah King who was vying to be the heir by the sea god and the Azura god. Although he also felt that guy was hateful, Marzianapang's initial idea was to follow the Cheetah King to mix up his destiny. Why, you don't agree? Douluo gradually put away his playful smile, and his tone was a little low. You should know that the Spirit Hall is the strongest spirit master guild in the entire continent, and your talent will be best cultivated as long as you join the Spirit Hall. Okay, old man, look at how old Hongjun is now. He is still a freshman in our academy. You are anxious to poach him for me, isn't it a bit too much? Shia also saw that her master's tone was wrong, and hurried forward to smooth things over. Haha, it's because I was too anxious. After listening to what this brat said just now, I almost treated him as an adult. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have remembered that he was a 7-year-old kid. Douluo laughed out loud, walked forward and stretched out his big hand like a palm fan, placed it on the fiery red hair, and ravaged it hard. This damn head patting kill. Marzianapang quietly pulled away his head wrapped in gauze, and said slowly in a low voice, I have considered it, master, I'm willing to join the Spirit Hall. Shia frowned and said in some confusion, stinky boy, don't be scared by this old guy. If you don't want to join, don't join. You are still young, and there are plenty of ways to go in the future. There are basically no little monsters with talents like you in the 2 empires. No matter which empire you join, you will definitely be valued. That's not the case. I heard that there are many beauties in the Spirit Hall. Marzianapang accidentally said what was in his heart. Snap. A black hand flew unexpectedly. Marzianapang's head tilted, and his body flew out with his head and hit the headboard. Oh, teacher, what are you doing? It hurts. Marzianapang only felt sore all over, and simply lay there without moving. Douluo on the side, held his stomach and laughed. So this is your goal? You are so young, but you know a lot. Douluo gave Marzianapang a knowing look and whispered, don't worry, when the time comes, your master will help you matchmake for the one you like. Don't be afraid. Old man, this is my apprentice, don't teach him your bad habits. Dia put her hands on her waist in annoyance. It was not easy for her to accept an apprentice, and she must not let this old man harm her. Master, are there any other benefits to joining the Spirit Hall? Can I continue to study at Francis College? Marzianapang figured it out. If he wanted to challenge the strongest person in this world, he would be destined to fight with Tang-san in the end. If we can't be friends, then we can be enemies. Sometimes it's quite interesting. I just don't know if the Shrek 7 Devils will be so brilliant in the future without him. After all, I'm the Fire Phoenix that everyone is looking forward to. That's easy. When your injury gets better, Master will take you to the nearest Spirit Hall guild to register. Then you can register directly under my name, which will save you a lot of unnecessary chores. Douluo put his hands behind his back. His eyes were full of pride. But I just didn't laugh. Am I proud? The wind is whistling, and the Ishu River is cold. Once the warrior leaves, he will never return. That's good. Alas, I'm going to join the Spirit Hall. Poor little Tang-san, you will have something to play with in the future. I will accompany you to have fun. By the way, Kain Rinksu is really good looking. and she is destined to become a god in the future, which is just right for me, who is handsome and unrestrained. Stinky boy, I suspect you are thinking about something unhealthy now. Shia looked at him with a strange look, and he found that the gauze wrapped around his mouth seemed a little wet. I'm hungry, teacher. Ma Xiaopang first pulled the bandage at the corner of his mouth, and then pointed to the food beside him. I lost so much blood last night, and now I urgently need to replenish my nutrition. Look at my mouth, it's been wrapped up by you, and I can't eat, even if I want to. Ma Xiaopang refused to admit his true thoughts. I'm a kind and childlike child. Oh. Shia was stunned. Then tear it apart. Didn't I stop you? Ma Xiaopang spread his hands again. His forefingers were all wrapped together by you. I couldn't untie them, even if I wanted to. Someone. Soon, the young maid from not long ago came in again. Master, what do you want? Master. Master. Ma Xiaopang involuntarily turned his eyes to the almost 50-year-old teacher Shia, with a strange look in his eyes. So you still have this habit, teacher Shia? Douluo also shook his head helplessly. Alas, the world is going downhill. Back then, our little Shia was so pure and innocent, but now, looking at the young maid, Douluo lowered his head in sorrow. Dia frowned, a little puzzled. What do you two guys want to express? Nothing, teacher. You are really rich. Is this your home? Dia nodded. Yes, this is the teacher's home. What? Are you not used to it? Ma Xiaopang shook his head again and again. No, it's really great here. Can I stop living in school in the future? This bed is so comfortable. I want to live here. It's not impossible, but you have classes in the morning. I'm afraid you can't make it. It's okay, teacher. I get up early and run over. Okay, teacher. I'll keep this room for you. You can come and live here if you want. Anyway, when I get home, there are only a group of servants besides Dia, which is too boring. Ma Xiaopang occasionally comes to stay for 2 days, and he also has a lot more fun. Yeah. Fatima jumped up excitedly, threw a wink at the young maid at the door that most people couldn't understand, and said with a smile, Miss, please take care of me in the future. Ah. The young maid's face flushed immediately, and she looked at Shia beside her with some surprise. She heard what she said just now. The fat boy seemed to be the master's apprentice. Shia. You'd better not come. Don't, teacher. If you dare to come in the future, teacher will let you see what bamboo shoots fried with meat are. It is said that rabbits don't eat grass near their nests. You kid just came and set your eyes on the maid in my room. Fatima felt a touch on his face depressedly. The young maid carefully removed the gauze at the corner of his mouth and then picked up the bowl to help feed him. Fatima turned his injury into joy and smiled and looked at Master Douluo beside him. By the way, Master, how old are you this year, and are you a boy or a girl? Douluo. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 40 To Return to the Village. Enjoying a happy life for nearly half a month, Hongjun lay on the soft big bed with his arms and legs spread out, so happy that he didn't want to step out of the door. What does it mean to stretch out your hand for clothes and open your mouth for food? This is the first time for him to experience it in his 2 lives. There are beautiful women to take care of him when he eats. Ma Xiaopang has truly experienced what it means to enjoy the aristocratic society. As for the 3 major forces in this world, Ma Xiaopang has also thought carefully during this period. The 2 empires of Xiandao and Xingluo are like the nobles in Europe. The upper class enjoys any privileges, while the lower class enjoys poverty without any use. They yearn for the life of the upper class, but they suffer from no way to get there. Fortunately, there is another way for the strong in this world. As long as you become a soul master and show your strength, you can join the 2 empires, or join the Wuhan Hall, and you can get rid of the life of the lowest class. This is why the old village chief Ma Jie was so happy when he learned that Ma Xiaopang was born with full soul power, a rare genius in a century. If Ma Xiaopang becomes a strong man in the future, he only needs to leak a little oil and water to replenish his village. Then the village of Jersa will be greatly changed, and the lives of the villagers will be much better. The biggest reason why the establishment of the Wuhan Empire attracted the support of so many civilians and civilian soul masters is because of their oath. When Bibi Dong established the Wuhan Empire, she said, overthrow the two empires, so that civilians can also have the opportunity to be promoted, so that more ordinary people can also have the opportunity to get rid of the status quo. Therefore, more soul masters chose the Wuhan Empire, and chose this uprising army. Tang San and others also represented the Valoans at that time. They symbolized the aristocracy, the guardian of the empire, and became the Lan Hao king of the Xiandao Empire. The concept of the uprising at that time was still not perfect. Ma Xiaopang drank the millet porridge in the bowl with emotion, and lay leisurely on the comfortable recliner, killing the afternoon time. If Bibi Dong had not been blinded by hatred, perhaps she could have succeeded. Even if she failed in the end, the idea of overthrowing the aristocratic rule would not cease. It would be thoroughly rooted in the hearts of the people of the world of Douluo continent. When the time is right, there will definitely be another batch of insurgents. Tang San came from a sect, and also came from a class society. In addition, his background is destined to be incompatible with the spirit hall, so he will only stand on the opposite side. But I'm different. I'm a good young man who has been deeply influenced by the knowledge of a peaceful society. Since this society is so unequal, why not try to change it? Maybe this is the real purpose of my crossing over? Ma Xiaopang closed his eyes and quietly planned his future route. A few minutes later, a melodious flute sounded on the recliner. The young maid picked up Ma Xiaopang. The weather was too cold, and she was going to carry the young master back to the room. Little did she know that Ma Xiaopang's mouth was already smiling. Okay, you little brat, stop pretending there, go back to your room, and change your clothes. Just then, a figure suddenly appeared in the living room. It was Douluo, who had been missing for several days. Ma Xiaopang couldn't help but sigh. Being a powerful soul Douluo is good. You can come and go without a trace, and you won't be discovered when you enter a room. You are here, master. Wait for me, I will be there soon. Ma Xiaopang climbed up from the arms of the young maid very naturally, waved his hand, and rushed into the room quickly. The leisurely days were too long, and he almost forgot the agreement with Douluo's master. Today he will go to the spirit hall to officially register with his real name. Unexpectedly, in the end, Zhao Yu, the unknown great soul master, was right. He really joined the spirit hall. But it's also pretty good. Looking at the crystal clear card in his hand, Ma Xiaopang couldn't help biting it with his teeth. Well, it should be a valuable thing. The old man in charge of registration twitched his expression and couldn't help explaining. This is a symbol of our identity in the spirit hall, and it can't be measured casually with money. The strength of the spirit hall is very wide, so wide that they can be seen in almost every town in the empire, and there are their own branch halls. Do you have this thing? It's not an identity card. I'm still young, and I'm afraid I'll lose it. Otherwise, give me 2 more, so that I can collect it. Douluo helplessly supported his forehead. He finally understood that when his disciple Shia heard that he was going to take him to the spirit hall headquarters to practice, Shia's happy expression was from the heart, and there was absolutely no falsehood. In the end, perhaps because of Douluo's invisible deterrence, the old man who was in charge of registration really made an exception, and took out 1 more piece, and gave it to Ma Xiaopang. Walking out of the glorious spirit hall branch, Mama Hongjun excitedly took small steps, twisting and turning as he walked, and was almost hugged away by the aunt with shining eyes beside him. Let's go back quickly, master. It's too dangerous here. His handsome appearance is popular with people of all ages. If he doesn't go back, he is really afraid that he will be stolen away. You are afraid sometimes? Douluo was a little amused. This little guy was ruthless when killing people, and every move was fatal. Why is he so timid in the face of this group of unarmed women? I'm not afraid. They are just ordinary people. If I hurt them, won't people say I'm bullying the weak? Ma Xiaopang pursed his lips in disdain. He was not too friendly to this group of people's view of the strong. Ordinary people can be bullied at will? Who dares to say that to you? You are a member of our Wuhan Hall now. Let's see who dares. Delru glanced around angrily, and the passers-by ran away in panic. Alas. Perhaps this is the real reason why the people of the spirit hall failed. After all, they still looked arrogant, and there was still a big difference in their thinking. Soon, Marzianapang separated from Delru. Originally, he planned to stay in Francis College until graduation, and then follow the protagonist and others to mix their luck. Now the plan has changed. They are destined to become enemies, before they become friends. In the next period of time, he will follow Master Delru to the headquarters of the Spirit Hall to practice, but the name of Francis's student will not change. When he is about to turn 12, he will return to the college to complete his graduation ceremony. This is what he agreed with Teacher Shire. After graduation, he will come back to complete the graduation assessment she set, so that he can be considered a real master. I'm leaving soon. I'm afraid I'll be gone for 2 or 3 years. I'd better go back to the village. Although his body is an adult soul, after all, he has been taken care of by the 2 so-called parents for 3 years, and he plays with his sister Marziaxio every day. After all, he is still reluctant to leave. After all, this is his only home in this strange Douluo world. In the past half month, Marzianapang specifically asked Shire and others to help him take care of his family. After all, in his memory, Hongjun was an orphan adopted by the 4-eyed cat Owl Flanders. He obviously had a home and a village, but why was he an orphan? In the original book, Hongjun never returned to the village, and finally regarded the academy as his home. Perhaps it was because something happened in the middle of the journey. Let's go to the branch of the Spirit Hall before leaving. We still have to use the relationship that should be used. Chapter 43 The Warmth of Home. Hongjun hired a horse-drawn carriage and purchased almost a whole cart of goods at the market. Then he leisurely directed the driver to the strange yet familiar path. It was already early winter in December. The chill in the air had long been no longer hidden, and it had mixed itself into the air wantonly. Hongjun shuddered refreshingly and quickly wrapped the cold-fearing thing into his pants. If he let it enjoy the cold wind for a while longer, he might freeze to death. Boss, where is the place you are talking about? Look at the sky. The driver wrapped himself in a thick cotton coat. Seeing that it was getting dark and there were bare trees all around, he was afraid that he would not be able to go back today if he continued like this. It's almost there, in a village not far ahead. Marzianapang kicked his calves, jumped on the carriage, and pointed to a peak in front. Again, ahead. The coachman complained dissatisfiedly after climbing over one mountain after another. When will it end? Are you messing with me? Although I'm just a coachman, you are just a little kid, and I will not serve you. This time, brother, it's true. Not far ahead. We will be there soon. Soon, soon. You have said soon so many times. The coachman became more and more excited and roared angrily. It's so cold. It will be dark later. How dangerous it will be for me to go back all the way. What if I encounter bandits? You little kid. If you had said how far it was earlier, I would not have bothered to take you. Oh. I will leave immediately, sir. Go. On the silent mountain road, a carriage began to run fast, adding a different color to the originally quiet dusk. That's more like it. Marzianapang silently retracted his soul ring and lay back in the carriage leisurely. It was still warm inside. Not long after, Marzianapang arrived at his destination. Jursa village, where the village's martial spirits are all poultry, is a simple and quiet village. Damn it, what are you doing? Didn't you hear the noise outside? Oh, I thought too much. Unexpectedly, it wasn't long after dark, and RNIU at the entrance of the village began the breeding of the young couple. Sir, we are here, the coachman said in a low voice with a bitter voice. He never expected that the little fat man in the carriage was actually a great spirit master. How old is he? Originally, I thought that he was a child and must be easy to bully. I could take the opportunity to ask for more on the way, but who would have thought that I would meet a tough guy? Keep going. My home is quite far away, behind the village. Okay, sir. The coachman drove the carriage on the street of Jursa village with tears in his eyes. Keep the noise down. Don't disturb the villagers' sleep. Marzianapang's childish voice came from the curtain. Yes, sir. The coachman was crying without tears. He was really unlucky today, having to deal with such a little ancestor. Thank you, uncle. It's getting dark. To thank you for sending me back, I'll give you 10 more silver soul coins. Thank you. Ma Xiaopang bowed kindly, added 10 more silver soul coins to the fare that had been prepared, and then turned his head with a smile on his face. I'll help you carry it, Dad. This thing is a bit heavy. The coachman waved his whip with tears in his eyes and walked towards home along the path, illuminated by the moonlight. I say, Ma Xiaopang, why did you buy so many things? We don't need them at home. Ma Xiaoxiao was moving things angrily while scolding her fat brother. Also, where did you get the money? These things must be expensive. Why did you buy so many? Yes, little brat. Mom just looked at these things carefully. They are not cheap. Although Hongjun's mother looks young, her skin is very dry and yellow because of working in the fields all year round. She is obviously only in her 30s, but she looks like she is in her 40s. Where is a living allowance for this semester? Have you used it all up? No, Mom. This semester is about to end, and the money you gave me is almost gone. Ma Xiaopang spread his hands innocently. Pa. The poor little winter heater fell to the ground tragically. Ma Xiaopang. Ma Xiaoxiao looked at it without saying a word. She knew what this thing was. Not long ago, Hongjun said that this was a gift for his sister. My gift has not been used yet, and it's broken. Stinky brother, you're asking for a fight. I was wrong, sister, don't do this. Just like that, amid the fight between the two little guys, the old couple shook their heads in amusement and moved the pile of goods piled in front of the door into this seemingly ordinary but slightly warm cabin in different categories. Okay, Xiaoxiao, your brother finally came back. Stop making trouble. It's very cold outside. Dad Ma was cleaning the house while Mom Ma was busy in the kitchen, quickly putting dishes on the table. It's time to eat. Hongjun, stop making trouble. Okay, Mom, I'm here. Hongjun dodged and dragged Ma Xiaoxiao, who was panting against the osmanthus tree, from the yard into the house. Ma Xiaopang, put me down. Ma Xiaoxiao struggled in shame and anger, but he was no match for Ma Xiaopang at this time. Ma's mother stared at her son blankly. She rubbed her eyes unconsciously, but when she opened them again, she found that the two little guys had entered the room. Just now. Ma Xiaopang laughed, sat on the bench, and began to eat heartily. Come on, sit down, Dad and Mom, let's eat first, and talk while we eat. How is your life in the college recently? Have you been bullied? Dad also sat down. Ma Xiaoxiao pouted and said, he is the only one who is bullied. It's good that he doesn't bully others. Maybe he was sent back by the college this time, because he caused trouble. What did you say? Ma's father stood up suddenly, his thoughts were flying in his mind, all the clues were instantly connected, and he was ready to get the stuff. You little brat, your parents paid for you to study in the academy, not to let you play. It's fine if you don't work hard, but you're still causing trouble in the academy. Ma Xiaoxiao, who was standing by, seemed to realize that she had said something wrong, and hurried forward to stop him. Dad, I was just kidding you. Don't get excited. That's right, Dad, I don't think things are what you think. Ma's mother was quite reasonable. After all, she saw the scene at the door with her own eyes. What was that? Could it be the legendary soul skill? Has her little bastard really become a soul master? Ma Xiaopang was eating his rice with big mouthfuls while looking at his blood relative in front of him with a smile. For some reason, he liked this feeling very much. There was no intrigue, no worries. Dad, am I that unbearable? As he said that, he put down his bowl and chopsticks, stood in the middle of the room, and slowly closed his eyes. Then, two soul rings slowly emerged. Chapter 44 Uninvited Guests. You, what are you doing? Ma's mother dropped the chopsticks in her hand. Two soul rings, great soul master. Ma's father stood up suddenly, staring at his chubby son intently. Ma Xiaoxiao's steamed bun in her mouth also fell to the ground. Although she didn't know what her parents were surprised about, she was right to be surprised. Her brother was the best, a rare genius in a century. Son, that on your back, is it also a soul skill? Ma's mother stared blankly at the 6 fiery red wings that suddenly appeared on her back. The scorching temperature instantly warmed up the whole little house. Ma Xiaopang laughed proudly. flapped his wings a few times, and made his whole body float up. Dad and Mom, this is given to me by my second soul skill, which gives me the ability to fly. Now it's not just the old couple, even Marziaxio has a cute little mouth and eyes wide open. Marzianapang actually flew up. Dad and Mom, your son has joined the spirit hall, and has become a superior person. You no longer have to work in the fields all day. Marzianapang put away his 6 wings, jumped onto the stool with a smile on his face, and took out a shiny token from the bag. It was the identity soul card he obtained in the spirit hall branch not long ago. This is. Marziaxio leaned over curiously. This is my identity card, which is a unique identity symbol of the spirit hall, and is made of special materials. It must be worth a lot of money. Yes, it's a good thing at first glance. Marziaxio also picked up the soul card and looked at it and said, can this thing be sold? Marzianapang. Sure enough, my bad habits are congenital and contagious, and the body's instinctive reaction. After a detailed explanation, Marzianapang finally made the family understand. Then Marzianapang, are you going to leave? Marziaxio suddenly said. Marziaxio's eyes were red when she was talking. Her brother seemed to be leaving. Can you stay for now? You are only 7 years old. Although you are talented, you don't understand many things yet. Mar's mother also had tears in her eyes. Although she rarely saw her son, after sending him to the academy, she could still come back 2 or 3 times a year. But once he went to the so-called Spirit Hall headquarters, would he be able to come back? He had already stepped out of the empire. It's okay, sister and mother. I'll only be gone for 5 years this time. I'll have to come back after 5 years. I'll have to come back to take the graduation exam in the academy. Seeing this, Hongjun put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hand and comforted. I've asked Teacher Shia. I'll go to the Wuhan Hall to practice for a few years. If you have any problems, just go to her and tell her my name. I've also told her my home address. She will come to take care of your safety in the future. Ah. Ma's father sighed. Although he was reluctant, he was still the head of the family. He comforted. Women are kind. This is a great thing. Why are you crying? Yes, mother and sister, when Zio Hongjun has a promising future, we will expand our home into a big villa, and I will live here with you in the future. Hongjun also comforted her. Creak. Who is it? Marzianapang suddenly raised his head and looked over. He actually saw that an eye had appeared on the roof at some point, observing every move inside through the gap. Marzianapang spread his wings without saying a word, and then the silver dragon spear instantly became 1.5 meters long, and stabbed fiercely at the eye in the air. Everything happened in an instant. Marzianapang's voice was still echoing in the house, and a hole appeared on the roof. And the figure also dodged narrowly, and took advantage of the night, to sneak into the darkness. Looking at the dark shadow going away, Marzianapang sneered, and did not choose to chase hard, but quickly returned to his home. Are you okay, Hongjun? Marziaxio had already hidden in the cellar under the guidance of her mother, and only Ma's father was still waiting anxiously upstairs. Hongjun put away the silver dragon spear, and said with a smile, it's okay, Dad. I think it's just a thief. I guess he saw the things I bought today, so he followed all the way from the county town. Where is the person? Did you catch him? Ma's father continued to ask. Marzianapang replied, he ran into the forest. I didn't chase him. What should we do? If he brings someone else here, then we will. After hearing this, Ma's father became even more anxious and subconsciously wanted to blame his son. But after thinking about it, he gave up. The little guy was about to leave home, and it was unknown how long it would take for them to meet again. He was probably just missing home. After some explanation, Ma's mother and sister Marziaxio both breathed a sigh of relief. If it was just a thief, it would be fine. Once they sold their valuables in a few days, they wouldn't be afraid of being targeted by thieves. But they seemed to have forgotten a question. If he was really an ordinary thief, how did he avoid Hongjun's attack? And how did he escape from the hands of a great soul master with flying skills? Jisa village, a quiet little village. But at this time, it was about to usher in a long lost disturbance. 10 kilometers away from Jisa village, a group of about 20 people wearing black night clothes were rushing towards the village in an orderly and fast manner. Everyone hurry up. 13 has been exposed, and the target is probably already in the transfer stage. The leader wore a silver mask on his face, and judging from his voice, he should be quite old. Boom. Not good. Everyone get out of the way. Suddenly, a huge tree stump fell from the sky and hit the front of the black-clothed man. More than a dozen trees around were broken one after another, and it was barely stopped. Defense formation. A group of black-clothed men stood up in front, behind, left and right in an instant. Some jumped onto the tree trunks and hid in the darkness again. HMPH, a group of rats who are not up to the stage. Do you think I can't find you if you hide in the dark? Two figures slowly came over the tall trees. They were Marzianapang and Douluo. In Douluo's hand, there was a fainted black-clothed man. 13. All of you get out of here. Douluo snorted coldly, and the soul power around him rippled around like the waves of the sea, and he actually shook out the 5 people hiding in the darkness. So strong. The masked man's eyes condensed, staring at the 2 people who fell down. One of them was the target of their trip, and they had never seen the other one, but the badge on his shoulder was very clear. He was actually a deputy elder of the spirit hall. Senior, it's our fault today. We hit the wrong person. Please let us go. The masked man was very decisive. After seeing the badge on his shoulder, he recognized the information it brought at a glance. The old man in front of him was actually a soul Douluo. Chapter 45. Rioting Soul Power. Let you go? Douluo laughed and said, you have all targeted my grand disciple. Do you think I can let you rats go easily with just one sentence? The masked man clenched his fists. He was only a soul king of level 52. Facing a soul Douluo of at least level 81, there was no possibility of escape, even if he tried his best. Tell me, who sent you here, and why did you attack my grand disciple? Douluo waved his hand calmly, and a visible soul power wave burst out, pressing all the men in black to the ground. Only the masked man was barely half kneeling on the ground, and had not fallen down completely. Senior, you can see that we are just a group of underground rats. The employer hired us, and only traded money. We don't know the specific matters behind it. The masked man gritted his teeth and explained unwillingly, the order we received was just to kill Hongjun, but because the target has been hiding in the academy, we sent people to monitor his movements at home. The remaining masked man couldn't say anything more. A stronger soul force pressed down and pressed him to the ground. What followed was a fiery red figure. Marzianapang stepped on his head fiercely and directly stepped on his whole body to the ground. This time, the masked man not only felt his leg bones broken, but also the mask on his face was completely broken, and he didn't know how many teeth fell out. Are you going to attack me? Then come to me, but you dare to send people to target my family. Hongjun's eyes were bloodshot. Even when he was fighting with the bandits that night, he had never shown such a terrifying and bloodthirsty expression. Douluo frowned slightly. He was so young that he was overwhelmed by anger. This was not the mentality of a strong man. Bang! Marzianapang kicked out and kicked the masked man out directly. You have to know that he is just a great soul master, while the other party is a 52nd level soul king. Even with Douluo's soul power suppression, the physical body should still have a crushing difference. But Hongjun kicked out and completely shattered the other half of the masked man. Not bad. It seems that this brat often exercises his physical body. Douluo nodded lightly. The apprentice that Shire accepted is indeed very talented. Boss. Several men in black struggled to raise their hands and forcibly caught the masked man. Ahem. The masked man coughed up several mouthfuls of old blood, but just touched it with his hand. Then he knelt on one knee and said, Senior, I'm willing to let you deal with me, but please let my brothers go. They know nothing, and just follow my orders. Do you think I'm stupid? Douluo snorted disdainfully. Kill you and then let them go. Isn't that asking for trouble? Wait for them to retaliate against me at some point in the future? Senior, don't worry. They are weak, and can't hurt you in this life. The masked man bent his waist even lower. Although he is the boss of this group of people, he personally recruited everyone, and treated him as a brother. Then what? Can you attack my relatives? Hongjun stepped forward step by step. The silver dragon spear in his hand had been completely taken out by him, dragging on the ground, making a clanging sound. If I don't kill you today, am I still waiting for you to retaliate in the future? After regaining his life, he valued family affection more and more. In the past 3 years, his parents have taken good care of him. Although his sister Masaya often troubles him, she is more worried about his fat brother than anyone else. If he had not asked Douluo to hide in the dark today, he would have to run away in advance. But his parents and sister are ordinary people. Can they really run away? After learning that his family has run away, will these mice in the dark be angry with the entire Jelsa village? The people in the village are farmers who are powerless. Once they are confronted by this group of people with knives, how can they resist? The more Masayanapang thought about it, the more angry he became. He was about to go to the headquarters of the spirit hall. What if someone came to trouble his family again? Under the moonlight, the silver dragon spear exuded a cold light, like a poisonous snake, that would bite people and launch a terrifying attack at any time. So, you all should die. Hongjun walked in front of the masked man, raised the silver dragon spear, and pointed it at his forehead. Don't even think about hurting the boss. A man in black suddenly rushed out from the side, and pounced on Hongjun like crazy. You're looking for death. Hongjun just glanced at him, lowered his body slightly, raised his left foot high, and jumped up with his right foot at the same time, kicking the man in black in the abdomen directly, kicking him out with one kick. The man in black fell to the ground in pain. In order to break free from Douluo's mental suppression, he burst out his soul power and inserted the dagger into his thigh, forcibly breaking free from the restraint. I thought I would use him as a threat after the sneak attack was successful, but I didn't expect that I couldn't even beat a child, and I was lying on the ground with just one kick. Wait. Masayanapang jumped forward, ready to give him a fatal blow, but as soon as he got close, he was stopped by Douluo. Master. Masayanapang frowned slightly. He was so angry that he only paused for a moment and stabbed the silver dragon spear without hesitation. Clang, however, at this moment, a bright light suddenly flashed and hit Masayanapang's spear, just making the spear brush past the black-clothed man's thigh and pierce into the soil. Teacher, why are you stopping me? Masayanapang turned his head and stared at a certain place in the darkness without blinking. Hey, brat, how did you know it was me? Shia slowly walked out of the darkness, still dressed in black, as if she had merged with the darkness. Who can't smell the strong and pungent fragrance on you? The blood in Hongjun's eyes inadvertently faded a little. You. Shia stomped her feet angrily, wanting to hit him, but she held back. Bitch, you can't kill these people yet. They'll be useful. Shia was too lazy to continue to argue with the little fat man. Why? Why else? Shia said disdainfully. What's the point of killing them? Can't you find another batch of people who hired them behind the scenes? But in any case, this group of people should be killed. Hongjun's soul power exploded, and his whole body burst into a scorching temperature. Their hands are already stained with the blood of countless people. All of them deserve to die. Hongjun became more and more excited, and even the silver dragon spear turned into a fiery red stick. Oh no, his soul power is rioting. Douluo, who was standing by, was the first to notice something was wrong. He quickly dodged and rushed forward, slashing at Hongjun's neck with his hand knife, knocking him out directly. There is a problem with his mutant martial soul. It is easy to riot. Shia quickly caught Hongjun and jumped aside. Take him back first. I'll take care of this. Douluo glanced around calmly and said silently, since you are taking him to practice, then help him solve his worries. Chapter 46. The Ding family holds a vengeance. Sir, please tell me what you want. I will do anything to spare my brothers. The masked man gritted his teeth and bowed deeply. Brother. Douluo had no time to care about the brotherhood of these people. He just silently withdrew his mental and soul power suppression and said, my request is very simple. Help me to play a drama and lead out the mastermind behind it, and I will let you go. The masked man pondered for a moment and finally nodded solemnly. Forget it. If I can't fight this time, I will find another place to make a living. Far away in the small town of Argus, in a large building similar to a castle consisting of more than a dozen buildings, an old man with a white beard was pacing back and forth in the hall anxiously. I said, can you sit quietly? Stop walking around there. Are you annoying? The thin man waved his hand in annoyance and scolded. How can you let me be quiet? You secretly sent someone to kill a student? The white bearded old man pointed at the thin man and roared. Now that woman Shire is missing. If the group of people you invited fail and are captured, won't our Ding family lose face? By then, not only will we have to face the group of teachers in Francis College, but the entire Ding family will also lose reputation in the town. Who do you think will bear this responsibility? The white bearded old man became more and more angry. Although he was just a guest, he had worked diligently for the Ding family for more than 20 years, and had already regarded this place as his own home. Okay, stop arguing. Leo Wu's actions were allowed by me. The man on the first seat slapped him, and stopped the next argument with a stiff tone. Clan leader, how could you be like this? Is it just because Ninger and the others lost a duel? The white bearded old man said in disbelief. It's just a competition between students. Why are you so angry? A competition between students? Ding Yichen snorted disdainfully and laughed. Didn't you notice the hatred between him and Ding Ning and Ding Chen? Now that kid is almost becoming a demon in Mining's heart. If he doesn't die, Mining's future path of cultivation will probably be ruined here. The white bearded old man said unconvinced. Let them solve the problems between students themselves. Ninger is already level 24 and that kid is only level 10. If Ninger had been more serious at the beginning, would she really lose to a kid of level 10? Ding Yichen said lightly. What if I tell you that the kid has already obtained the second soul ring? Do you still think Ninger can really break this demon head on? What did you say? The white bearded old man opened his mouth in surprise and looked at the thin man next to him with disbelief. The thin man sighed and nodded solemnly. That's why I was so anxious to send someone. If we don't kill him in the growth stage in time, when he grows up in the future, will there be room for our Ding family to survive? Impossible. It's only been more than 2 months. How did that kid break through so quickly? The white bearded old man looked at the two in astonishment. He still refused to believe it. This guy's probably not a genius anymore, right? He's just a little monster. You know the conflict between him and Ding Wei. There is no room for our Ding family to ease with him. The industry of that bitch Shire often conflicts with ours. If he grows up again in the future, our Ding family will really have little room to survive in the town of Agus. After a long time, the old Tiff came back to his senses and said helplessly, Old 5, what kind of people are you hiring? Are they reliable? Is there a risk of exposing us? Although he thought that the strength of the Ding family was not afraid of Francis College at all, let alone that bitch Shire. But it is said that the woman Shire is from the Spirit Hall, and her status is not low. Once she asks for help from the giant organization of the Spirit Hall, there will be no room for reasoning. They are all organizations of the Kwanai Road. Although they are not strong, they have many people. I'm behind the scenes and have not revealed anything that would expose my identity. Leo Wu explained. That's good. Even if we fail tonight, we still have a chance. Old Tiff breathed a sigh of relief. As long as they are not exposed, there is still time to do the next thing. He doesn't believe that the old woman Shire dares to come to the Ding family for no reason without any evidence. Even the dean who is said to have broken through to the Soul Saint is no exception. Although the Ding family is not a big family, it may have stood on this continent for 100 years, and it has always ruled the town of Agus. Naturally, it has its own trump card. Leo Wu lowered his voice and said with a little doubt, You mean? Leo Tiff said slowly, you can follow what happened tonight. Since it is destined, don't leave any trouble. I will report to the old patriarch and ask him to take action. Cut the grass and root it out. Ding Yichen on the main seat pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, just do as Elder Tiff said. You go out now, Leo Wu, and see how the group of people have completed their tasks. Yes, Patriarch. The thin man bowed his hands, stepped out of the hall in a few steps, and disappeared in the quiet castle. In the quiet town of Agus, a figure jumped quickly on the roof like a ghost. The person who came with Shire. She carried Marziatapang in one hand, shuttled through quickly, and soon returned to her home. Feeling the hot body in her hands, Shire frowned. Is the fire attribute too strong? Shire threw Marziatapang on the ground casually, and then arranged 4 people to prepare a large bathtub and filled it with ice water. Master, it's done. Okay, go ahead and get busy. Remember to come and add water every incense stick. It must be ice cold. Got it, master. The maid nodded seriously and then slowly left the room. After everyone left, Shia poured all the herbs she found in the medicine store into the bucket and then stuffed 2 snow white pills into the unconscious Ma Xiaopang's mouth and then threw him into the bathtub casually. She yawned twice and left. I'm so tired, go to bed. Ma Xiaopang, who was thrown into the bathtub, felt hot all over and then he shivered with a start. In his dream, he felt that he was first in a sea of fire and then in the extreme north cold region. He moaned in comfort. The maid who came in on time blushed when she heard the sound made by Ma Xiaopang and hurriedly poured ice cubes into the bucket and left in a hurry. After an unknown amount of time, Hongjun's evil fire gradually faded, his face turned pale and then gradually turned pale. Being soaked in cold water in the middle of winter, without the heat of the evil fire, Ma Xiaopang gradually felt cold. It was not until dawn that Ma Xiaopang woke up slowly. As soon as he opened his eyes, he saw a plump and pretty maid pouring ice cubes on him. Chapter 47, The Ding family's former patriarch. In the courtyard in the early morning, a deafening sound, like a cock roaring, awakened the humans who were still in sleep. Shia sat up suddenly from the bed, with messy hair and bloodshot eyes. Ma Xiaopang. Shia's villa was built on a hill in the south of the town. There was a garden, a swimming pool, and even sculptures. At this time, Ma Xiaopang was lying in the cold swimming pool. Even though the cold penetrated his bones, Ma Xiaopang could only endure it. If he came out of the swimming pool before noon, he would probably be beaten by Shia. Alas, my handsome and heroic appearance was ruined like this. When he got up in the morning, he opened his eyes and saw the cute maid pouring ice cubes on him, but his astonished eyes scared the maid to scream. In order not to embarrass her, he also shouted for a while, and then the door was kicked open by a big foot, and then he was picked up by a black hand and thrown into the swimming pool. Bad boy, you have nothing to do, so you come to take a cold bath in the middle of winter? Douluo fell from a high altitude, staring at Hongjun floating in the swimming pool with a strange look on his face. Hongjun swayed his body, and his pale face showed a strange expression that wanted to cry but couldn't. Master, you should take care of it. Your apprentice is too cruel. As soon as I woke up, she threw me into the swimming pool. In the middle of winter, he didn't care about me and made me soak in this ice water. He even asked me to soak until noon, otherwise he was not allowed to get up. Douluo's eyebrows jumped and said, how did you offend her again? After a detailed conversation, Douluo sighed helplessly. Hey, who told you to mess with her? Isn't it better to be alive? Get up quickly, pack up and come to the living room to find me. I found a clue about what happened yesterday. Really? Hongjun stood up suddenly, and his playful expression instantly became serious. The hot soul power around him gradually radiated outward, and white steam came out of the water at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hurry up and pack up. Even if you are a fire-type soul master, you wouldn't practice in such a self-harming way, right? Douluo waved his hand unhappily. Soon, Hongjun came to the living room. There was no laughter as usual, just quietly watching Douluo and Shia eating at the table. Master, have you found out who did it? In fact, he had already made a conclusion in his heart. After all, he had not been in the academy for a long time, and he really didn't offend many people. And the only family that had the strength to hire so many killers was probably that family. Is there a family with the surname Ding in your town? Douluo asked while eating. Yes, they are the most powerful family in the town of Argus, and they often compete with my business. Shia elegantly tore a piece of steak and said nonchalantly, did they send someone to do this? Well, I made a fake human head and asked the group of people to take it with them. After sneaking around, I caught their contact person, and then I arrested 2 or 3 more people in succession, based on the contact person. Finally, I learned about the Ding family. Douluo said seriously. Ma Xiaopang was a little surprised and said, wow, this group of people are really cautious. They actually took such a big detour. Dia said lightly, I'm afraid that the fake head you mentioned is not fake in the simple sense. Dia knew the style of her master. Although he was always laughing and joking, that was only to acquaintances. However, when it comes to enemies, it is absolutely not an exaggeration to use the word ruthless on his head. Where can you find a fake head that can be mistaken for a real one? You can guess it. Is it really the Ding family? Ma Xiaopang sneered. I was wondering why the Ding family had been so obedient in the past 2 months. It turns out that they were playing dirty tricks in secret. Ma Hongjun was very angry at this time because he had caused trouble for his family, and even the evil fire in his body showed some signs of being unable to be suppressed. Enough, your master and I will help you solve this matter. Control yourself. Douluo frowned, and he could clearly sense the heat in the air. Didn't you say that it could be suppressed? Shia was also a little confused. 2 months ago, the brat seemed to be able to suppress the fire in his body very well, but as his strength increased, especially after he broke through to the Great Soul Master level, the evil fire in his body seemed to increase sharply, and it has been out of control several times in a row. It may be related to the increase in strength. The fire attribute in the body has increased too rapidly, and the 2 soul rings are absorbed, are the evil existences in the soul beasts, so it is much more difficult to suppress than before. Ma Hongjun took a deep breath, calmed his restless blood, and forced himself to calm down. He remembered that Ma Hongjun in the original book often couldn't control his evil fire, but he could suppress it again by eating or playing with women. But for him, this evil fire seemed to be more serious, and it could even affect his will. This is not good news. If it continues like this, I'm afraid that my improvement in strength and absorption of spirit rings will be greatly hindered. It seems that picking the fairy grass in the yin yang eyes of ice and fire in advance must be put on the agenda. Since he has decided to join the spirit hall, he is destined to be in opposition to Tangsun and others. It is also a very good choice to intercept his opportunity. Let's go. Since they bullied a student first, then the master is bullying the weak today. It's time to solve it as soon as possible, and we should set off. Douluo took the handkerchief handed by the maid, wiped his mouth like a gentleman, took a sip of red wine, and slowly stood up. This time, his main purpose was to see his disciple Shia, and secondly to search for any good talents among the people. After all, those 3 Avildos had appeared one after another, which made Douluo jealous. In the center of the Ding family's castle, a group of people were gathered together, and the person sitting on the main seat was a white-haired old man with white hair and beard, while the head of the family, Ding Yichen, stood with his hands behind his back, standing respectfully beside him. Xiao is missing. Is this confirmed? The old man asked indifferently. A guest of the Ding family stepped forward and said, reporting to the old patriarch, the 5th elder went out last night and never came back. The people sent out early this morning have found the body of the suspected 5th elder and are on the way back. Ding Ke said with a ferocious look in his eyes. Even in the Berek kingdom, not everyone dares to provoke the Ding family. I remember that Xiao is a soul king. Is there anyone in this town who can kill him so easily? Ding Ke is already 70 years old this year. He is the previous patriarch of the Ding family. In order to concentrate on his cultivation, he passed the position of patriarch to Ding Yichen early, and he himself practiced in seclusion in a secret room. Before his seclusion, he already possessed the strength of a soul saint. It is said that he once led the family's strong men out once in the middle, and it is very likely that he went to the soul beast forest to obtain soul rings. Yes, the deans of the 3 colleges all have this ability. Ding Yichen reported lightly on the side. At this time, another elder reported, before the death of Old 5, he seemed to plan to eliminate a student, and that student was the apprentice of Lisha from Francis College. Oh. Ding seemed to be thinking about something. He had been in seclusion for a long time, and had let go of many things. In Francis College, except for Douglas, he didn't pay much attention to other people. That Shire is the honorary vice president of Francis College and a soul saint. The whole hall fell into an inexplicable silence. Dink, who was sitting in the main seat, seemed to sense something, and suddenly laughed wildly. Interesting, interesting. Let's go and greet our guests. The people in the hall were suddenly shocked. Are those guys in Francis College crazy? They actually dared to bring people directly to the Ding family. Chapter 48 to contrast. At this time, at the gate of the Ding family, 3 figures, 2 big and 1 small, were standing proudly in place, surrounded by a group of Ding family brothers who fell to the ground. This group of people were just responsible for guarding the door on duty, and their strength was low. Before Ma Xiaopang even had time to make a move, he was suppressed by Douluo's simple soul power, and fell to the ground, unable to move. Go in, I want to see what Ding Yichen and his group of guys are hiding in the house and planning. Xia was a hot-tempered person. She kicked away the people who blocked her way, and walked in with a big stride of high heels. Douluo smiled and said, don't worry, your people are out. Hongjun silently took out the silver dragon spear. He tried to suppress the evil fire in his body, but the silver dragon spear was like a red hot stick, gradually turning from silver to red. Smelly boy, pay attention to restrain yourself, and don't let evil desire control yourself. Xia reminded at the right time. Why does the evil fire in this little fat man make me feel uncomfortable? Xia silently circulated her soul power to expel the discomfort from her body, and then looked at the old man walking in front with serious eyes. That is, Xia vaguely remembered that she seemed to have seen that person somewhere. Father, the woman next to you is Xia, and the fat man standing next to her is Hongjun. It is because of him that our Ding family lost face this time. Ding Yichen whispered beside Ding Ke, his eyes full of undisguised anger. It was because of him that his son Ding Ning lost face, and his brother Lao Wu died outside. Oh, I know. Ding Ke's eyes did not linger on Hongjun and Xia for too long, but kept staring at the long-haired man. He felt a threat from Douluo, the soul power fluctuations that were almost the same as his own. This man is also a soul Douluo. The Ding family is used to being domineering in the small town of Yagus, and most people in the town are afraid of them. Even though the gate of the Ding family was closed at this time, only occasionally someone would glance over, but they would leave in a hurry after a moment. More and more people from the Ding family came, and in a short moment, dozens of people gathered around, with a tendency to surround Ma Xiaopang and others. Xia, things have changed. I will stop them later. You take the brat away first. Douluo used his mental power to send a message to Xia and Hongjun. Not only Ding could sense it, he could also feel that the old guy in front of him, who looked old and weak, was actually almost as strong as himself. There are actually strong people here that even you, the master, are afraid of. Ding was also shocked, and subconsciously turned his eyes over. After scanning the circle, he locked his sight on the old man in the front. Is that him? Is it you who killed my Xiao? Ding walked forward with a smile, his eyes always fixed on Douluo in front of him, and the smile on his face did not show the anger not long ago. I killed him. Your little guy is not honest. Douluo smiled lightly. He had killed the other person, but he said it so calmly. This made Ding Yichen and others grit their teeth and wish they could eat him alive. It's not up to you to decide whether he is honest or not. Xiao is a child of my Ding family. No matter what he did wrong, we Ding family will deal with it ourselves. It's not your turn as an outsider to intervene. Ding Ke's smile faded, and his eyes became more and more sharp, like a sharp blade that could be unsheathed at any time. Killing someone means paying with your life. Since you killed my Xiao, then pay with your life. Oh, take my life. Douluo smiled strangely. I'm afraid you don't have that ability yet. A strong wind blew up from the ground, and everyone standing next to Douluo and Ding Ke was blown back a few steps by the strong wind. So strong. Ding Yichen and others were also shocked. At this time, they realized that the strange man in front of them was actually a strong man at the level of Soul Douluo, just like their grandfather. All of you should withdraw. This is not something you can interfere with. Ding waved his hand, signaling his people to withdraw. After all, this is their territory. The people below are too weak. Once the aftermath of the battle reaches them, the loss will be immeasurable. Xia, take Hongjun to the branch hall of the spirit hall to wait for me. There is nothing for you to do here. Xia didn't say much. She grabbed the fat man's collar and lifted him up. Without saying anything, she left. Douluo. Sooner or later, I will expel you from my sect. Douluo gritted his teeth and looked at the disappearing back. Why did he accept her as his apprentice? Your master is at the forefront, and you don't know how to say something to show your concern. No wonder you are still unmarried at such an old age. You deserve to be single for the rest of your life. Douluo silently scolded his apprentice countless times in his heart. He was simply a traitor. Shia's spirit was a leopard, and her speed was very fast. She disappeared over the street in the blink of an eye. She chose to go to the branch of the spirit hall. After all, although Francis College had teachers like Doyle, there were too many students, and it would be bad to affect innocent people. The spirit hall was different. Although it was a branch, even if the Ding family had 10 more courage, they would not dare to break into the spirit hall. You guys, follow me. Ding Yichen waved his hand, and the 10 strong men behind him followed closely. Dinka laughed, and a wild bull emerged from behind it, with 8 soul rings on its body quietly suspended. I don't know which strong man you are, but you have crossed the line. Even if my Ding family is wrong, it should be my Ding family who educates us. The old man, who was originally white-haired and slightly thin, roared, and his whole body suddenly swelled up as if inflated, and in an instant he turned into a strong man with muscular muscles. If his hair and beard were not white, I'm afraid no one would think he was an old man. The terrifying aftermath surged between the two people. After just a few collisions, the ground in front of the Ding family's gate could not hold up. The ground within a radius of 10 meters seemed to collapse, with countless cracks scattered around, and even the gate collapsed. Douluo is not a power type soul master. The weapon in his hand is a flower, a very charming purple flower with 12 petals. As Douluo's attack was launched, the petals of the flower actually dispersed and turned into sharp weapons, attacking Dinka from all directions. What a trick. You want to hurt me with just a flower? Dinka's martial soul is the same as Dingning and others, and the defense and strength of the wild bull martial soul are stronger than many martial souls, especially in the later stages. The strength displayed by the wild bull martial soul is stronger. 7th soul skill, soul true body. The terrifying wild bull leaned over Dinka, making his whole body look like he was wearing a layer of armor, and a terrifying red light emanated from his body. Oh. Douluo was suspended in the air, smiling strangely. Then I'll give it a try. No, I'll finish it, and have an ending. It has a beginning and an end. The main thing is that the test push seems to have failed, so every Friday and Saturday I will be sad and stop updating for a few days. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, The Dark Hand hiding in the dark. Bang! The battle between the two soul Douluos was far more destructive than one could imagine. As the soul power fluctuations became stronger and stronger from Ding's house, the originally noisy streets were now silent. After feeling the soul power fluctuations, even ordinary people felt a strong discomfort in their hearts and ran away from the street in a panic. On the other hand, Shia and Ma Xiaopang did not reach the branch hall of the spirit hall. In front of them stood a strange man with fancy clothes, orchid fingers, and long red hair. It was difficult to tell whether he was a man or a woman. At this time, behind the two, the figures of Ding Yichen and others gradually became clear. They had already caught up. Stinky boy, I'll stop them later. You take the opportunity to run first. Shia gritted her teeth. The strength of the demon in front of her was almost the same as hers, and the people brought by Ding Yichen behind were all Ding's confidants. The weakest one was at the Soul Master level. Even with an ordinary attack, none of them could be dealt with by Hongjun. But teacher, can you do it? Hongjun looked anxious. Not to mention the strange creature that looked like a modern demon. Ding Yichen alone seemed to be a soul emperor, and if there were a few other soul kings, the teacher would have a big problem, even if he couldn't fight. It's because you are too weak. I have to do it. Hey, aren't you saying something too hurtful, teacher? Can we still have some master-disciple relationship? Then teacher, be careful. If you can't beat him, remember to run away. Don't fight hard. Shia kicked Ma Xiaopang on the butt angrily. Get out of here. Why are you talking so much nonsense? I don't need you to teach me. Poor Ma Xiaopang was kicked out and flew past the weirdo. Oh my, this kick makes me feel itchy. The weirdo pinched his orchid finger, dancing and performing himself with joy, without any intention of chasing Ma Xiaopang. Here, please kick me like that. The weirdo shyly raised his butt, as if inviting him to kick me here, and kick me too. Oh my god, I thought I was shameless enough, but this guy is even more disgusting than me. Ma Xiaopang shuddered all over. Isn't this the shemale specialty of his world? He ran to the Douluo world? Damn pervert. How dare you tease me? As soon as Hongjun landed, Sha's roar came from behind him. It was obvious that he was very angry with the pervert. He just took a quick glance and ran away without stopping. However, the direction he ran was not the location of the branch hall of the Spirit Hall, but the location of Francis College. After all, although Ma Xiaopang has joined the Spirit Hall, it is not easy to ask others for help. You are a young spirit master who has just joined, and they will help you? Everything depends on strength and status. He knows Doyle Courtyard and Vice Dean 4 and others. In addition, they have a relationship with Teacher Shire, so it is probably no problem to ask them to help. Although their teacher's temper must offend them often, as the leader of the same academy, he should not help at the critical moment, right? Hongjun thought, while running towards the academy. Along the way, the streets became more and more sparse. Perhaps the news that the Ding family was broken into by outsiders made the residents of the whole street uneasy, fearing that they would be affected by the spirit masters of this continent. But soon, Ma Xiaopang was forced to stop. He was also stopped by someone. The group of people in front of him were Dingling and others who had fought with him on the ring 2 months ago. In addition to the other 3 people he had never seen, there were 9 people surrounding him at this time. Is this the so-called bug? The soldiers versus generals in the break ran into reality? Ma Xiaopang sighed bitterly, took out the silver dragon spear without any hesitation, and rushed forward. Teacher Shire was still waiting for him to ask for help, and he couldn't drag it on any longer. Humph, I knew you would go back to Francis College to ask for help, but I didn't expect you to come now. Dingwei sneered. Last night he knew that his Uncle Wu had sent someone to kill the little fat guy. And this morning he heard about the death of his Uncle Wu, so he told the news to several people in the dormitory. It must be said that Turda is very smart. After a few brief messages, he guessed that there might be someone behind Hongjun, and guessed that if something really happened today, Hongjun would probably go back to the college for help. So at dawn this morning, they blocked the street that must be passed back to the college, ready to wait for the rabbit. Not to mention, they really blocked several people who came to report the news in a hurry, and they were all stopped by them. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Just kill him. There's no need to go to the academy outside. Even if someone dies, there are people who will help them. Dingwei pulled out a big knife from his back, and used his first soul skill at the same time, rushing up with the knife in hand. My gun is so thick and long, you want to fight me head on? I'll borrow a classic line from Myaruma Chan Yang. Anyway, you are a stick and I'm a gun. There is not much difference. The 1.5 meter long silver dragon spear stabbed out and reached Dingwen's soul defense first. Hongjun could abuse him when he was at level 10, let alone now. With a click, as soon as the tip of the gun touched, Dingwen's defense was as easy to break as if it was made of paper. How is it possible? Not only Dingwen, but even the people in the rear were surprised. You know, frontal breakthrough and side attack are completely different concepts. In the battle 2 months ago, Hongjun was tested on meticulous skills, and from beginning to end, only the soul skills he used were powerful means of attack. And now they saw something. Just one shot broke Dingwen's soul skill attack. Clang. A crisp collision sound rang out. Turda and Zia rushed forward quickly, and with the speed advantage of their martial spirits, they narrowly deflected the spears, saving Dingwen from the danger of being pierced by a shot. Everyone be careful, the weapon in this brat's hand is very strong, and the soul power seems to be several times higher than before. Dingling stared at the short and fat boy in front of him with a serious expression. The silver spear in his hand was like a cold and poisonous snake, ready to deliver a fatal blow at any time. I don't want to waste time with you. All of you get out of here. Hongjun directly spread out his 6 wings, flew into the sky in an instant, and used his second soul skill. Second soul skill, Phoenix Rain. What? He actually broke through to the Great Soul Master. The range attack fell, and Hongjun directly thrust his gun, and fell straight down. At this time, outside the gate of the Ding family, Douluo coughed up blood from the corner of his mouth, but did not forget to wipe the corner of his mouth elegantly. He was attacked by surprise. Originally, with his soul power of level 86, it was basically no problem to suppress the level 83 Dinken. In addition, his martial soul was mainly based on flexibility and control, and Dinken's bull martial soul was suppressed by nature. But what he never expected was that there was actually a soul Douluo level strongman hidden on the side, and that person was a Dark Soul Master. Just when he was accumulating strength to give Dinken a big blow, the Soul Master suddenly launched a sneak attack on him and hit him directly on the side of his waist. If he hadn't dodged in time, I'm afraid this palm would have hit his chest. Chapter 50 Bloody World. HMPH, you stinky rat in the dark, you dare to sneak attack. Douluo was angry. Since he became a Soul Douluo, his status in the spirit hall has risen rapidly. He rarely goes out to perform missions, and his previous opponents have been ravaged by him. I didn't expect that today in a small town, I would encounter 2 Soul Douluo level masters in succession, and I was even injured. I admit that you are stronger than me, but how can that be? You are injured, and we are now 2-1. You can't be our opponent. Dink showed a hideous face, pulled off his almost torn coat, revealing bulging muscles, and his skin was full of vitality like a young man. The Soul Douluo who had just sneaked up on him walked forward and stood side by side with Dink. He didn't speak from beginning to end. He was wearing a black tights, a strange black hat similar to a bamboo hat on his head, and a black veil on his face, like a demon walking out of the night. Ada, I will attack from the flank later. You will attack from the flank. Dink stared at Douluo intently, as if he was trying to find his flaw. Understood. The man in black spoke in a low voice, and as he finished speaking, he merged into the shadows again. Douluo's pupils condensed. How could this Soul Douluo listen to this old guy so much? As a Soul Douluo level strongman, he has his own pride. This old guy is just a Soul Douluo at level 82. How can he listen to him? The tone is clearly like ordering a servant. Before Douluo could figure it out, Dink adjusted his body again, took an attacking stance, and rushed towards Douluo like a bull. Second soul skill, 100 flower clothes. Countless petals appeared out of thin air, and then flew towards Douluo's body, gathering into a battle suit made of flowers. This is Douluo's only defensive soul skill. Lotus, it's not just beautiful. After condensing the 100 flowers clothes, Douluo flew high into the sky again, trying to avoid those shadows and corners as much as possible to prevent being attacked by the Soul Douluo named Ada. Dark Soul Masters can be called natural killers. Even if they are discovered, they can still attack unexpectedly. It's useless. How can you, a Soul Douluo, fight against the 2 of us? Dinke's feet were so strong that the whole ground was cracked by this kick, and his body was like a cannonball, shooting into the sky, like a flying cow. Don't run, brother, I'll stand here and don't move. You kick me twice. The perverted man chased Dia while twisting his body. If most girls saw the swing of his waist and hips, they would probably feel ashamed. Fuck, get out of here. Dia waved her hand angrily. Under the wrapping of soul power, her left hand was like a terrifying beast claw, and she suddenly tore off a shop sign and threw it out. Ouch, I'll hide. The pervert twisted his hips and bent over to avoid Dia's attack. ZLIU, you guy, be serious. This woman is 50 years old. You still want to flirt with her? Ding Yichen's speed was inferior, and he could only run hard below to barely catch up. Seeing that the pervert was still flirting there, he was so angry that his soul power almost went out of control. ZLIU staggered and couldn't help turning his head and asked, no way, can you still maintain such a good appearance at the age of 50? ZLIU couldn't help pinching the faint wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, and he was furious in an instant. You dare to look younger than me, brother, it's simply unforgivable. ZLIU jumped suddenly and then floated in the air. His martial soul was actually a winged snake, a flying snake. With wings spread out, Ziliu's speed increased again, like a winged snake flying through the sky, quickly chasing after Shia. Shia paused when she saw this, and saw that her speed, which she was proud of, was actually surpassed by others. She didn't care about Ding Yichen and others chasing behind her, and directly used the 6th soul skill, Bloody World. The whole sky was instantly covered with blood, and it actually formed an area similar to a field. Being in this bloody world, Ziliu's speed slowed down in an instant, and even the senses around him became dull. A stream of blood hit his body and consciousness, and he actually felt an inexplicable fear. What a powerful soul skill. Zilliu flapped his wings condensed by soul power, trying to escape the range covered by blood. But at this moment of distraction, Shire had already rushed to the front. The two condensed, claws crossed left and right, and slid directly across Zilliu's chest. Then he raised his foot suddenly, stepped on Zilliu's abdomen with his high heels, and kicked him out. Everything happened in less than 2 breaths. Zliu came quickly and left quickly, but he flew back. At this time, several of the Ding family's faster retainers also caught up, and jumped to catch the falling Zliu. It hurts, brother, hold me tight, it hurts. The retainer who caught Zliu shuddered, his hand slipped, and he threw Zliu out, and he hit the stone floor with a bang. Oh my, you are so cruel, brother, you actually threw me on the ground. Zilliu stood up, holding his hips, and pointed at Ding Lichen who was chasing him with a finger pinched in dissatisfaction, saying, what kind of retainers do you have? You actually bullied a weak man like this. Ding Lichen looked cold, looking at Shire who ran away again, after taking back the bloody world, and said coldly, okay, there should be a limit to the trouble. If you continue like this, people will really run away. Don't blame me for not remembering the old friendship when the time comes. Don't worry, as long as you don't tell my boss, I will give myself to you, isn't it okay? Zilliu's face was bitter, and he walked forward shyly. However, Ding Lichen knew this guy very well, and he shook his hand away with a flick of his hand. I will report your performance today to Kazakhs. Zilliu's face froze, and he tidied his clothes helplessly. Isn't it okay for me to continue chasing now? At this time, Zilliu's clothes on his chest were completely torn, and he was caught by Shire. However, there were only faint red marks on his exposed chest, and his skin was not even broken. As early as when Shire unfolded the bloody world, Zilliu had already made the best defensive preparations. The scales of the winged snake are as hard as cold iron, and Zilliu's 5th soul skill is iron scales, which makes his entire skin have a defense almost as strong as the scales of an adult winged snake. When the attack fell, Shire also noticed something unusual. That's why she kicked it away at the last moment, and quickly withdrew to the bloody world, that consumed a lot of soul power, and continued to flee into the distance. Although she usually has a bad temper, as a soul master at the soul emperor level, she knows how to advance, and retreat in this cruel Douluo continent. Knowing that she would be besieged, she would naturally try her best to escape first. I didn't notice that I had already collected 1,000 collections while running naked. I'll update more today. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.